Mexico continued their European tour yesterday when they took on Bulgaria in Sofia in a friendly international. And it was Mexico who opened the score with a header from Misael Espinoza after 12 minutes. But Bulgaria were level just before the break. After 36 minutes, Hristo Stoichkov found himself at the edge of the box. And from there, he coolly lobbed the Mexican keeper to make it 1-1. Bulgaria had chances to equalise in the second half, and they indeed missed a penalty after that foul. That penalty saved, so 1-1 the final score, and Mexico can be pleased with their European tour. The second half was a tense affair, but Jamaica held out for a draw, and that takes them through to the next section of qualifying in the North and Central American and Caribbean region.
Soccer, and in Tallinn, home team Estonia in blue play their first World Cup qualifying match in 55 years against Switzerland. Chapuisat scores first with the visitors, after which the floodgates open. Switzerland run out 6-0 winners, with Chapuisat scoring twice, and they move now to the top of Group 1. Again, for the first time in 55 years, Lithuania in yellow walk onto a Latvian pitch as they arrive for a World Cup qualifier in Riga. The home team takes the lead after 14 minutes, when Linets heads past Martin Kenas in the Lithuanian goal. Lithuania press for an equaliser, but they become increasingly frustrated. As the supporters clash, the police move in. Lithuania eventually equalise, and 4 minutes from the end, the visitors score a second through Tereskinas. Lithuania win and now head Europe's Group 3. As the new season starts.
Welcome back. Well, trailing 1-0 from the opening leg in Panama last week, Costa Rica were back on song, certainly in this one, when the teams met San Jose on Sunday. This, a World Cup qualifier. Austin Berry converting an early penalty after 15 minutes. 1-0 to Costa Rica. 5 minutes later, Costa Rica were 2-0 up. Oscar Ramirez eventually putting the ball past a confused Panamanian defense. 2-0. Costa Rica was clearly intent on building a big lead before half-time. Juan Carlos stabbed in a third goal on the half hour. They certainly know how to celebrate, these boys. He then added his second of the game in the 33rd minute. 4-0. Well, after half-time, more gaps in the Panama defence loomed. Ostua, it was, who finally put this one away after a bizarre scramble. 5-0. I think the goalkeeper did himself a mischief then. Well, Panama's goal, the only one they got. They pulled one back in the last minute, saving a bit of pride from the penalty spot. Reni Mendieta. 5-1 though to Costa Rica. European champions Denmark are to play their first match since taking the title in Sweden in June. Tomorrow Denmark travel to Riga, where they play Latvia in their World Cup Group 3 qualifier. And somehow I don't think they're going to have too many problems. Japan has announced it will officially bid to host the first World Cup of the next century. Japan will formally bid for the 2002 finals. Cities where stadia are to be developed include Tokyo, Osaka, Yokohama, and of course, Hiroshima.
And welcome back to Eurosport News. Just 2 months after their shock win in the European Championship, Denmark made the trip to Riga in Latvia for their first World Cup qualifying match last night. Many would have expected Denmark to run away with this game, but it wasn't to be. Latvia lost to neighbours Lithuania by 2-1 last week, but this time they held on well against a Danish side which showed, well, only a little of the attacking play which took them to their first major championship win back in June in Sweden. There's no doubt that Denmark were the best team on the pitch, but the resilience of the Latvian defence surprised more than a few. That shot by Sieverbeck could have opened the score, but it didn't, and Latvia still holding on at 0-0 in the first half. Latvia also showing that they too are capable of composure in the middle of the park. But it was often Denmark in this game who showed the attacking style that we'd seen in June, but they lacked the finishing touch and the final ball and just weren't able to break the Latvian defence. This free kick by Sieverbeck also could have led to a goal, but Kim Vilfort unable to transform the Danish domination in the opening half. John Jensen of Arsenal also showing the kind of form that we saw during the European Championships. He must have been surprised by the resilience of the Latvians, and frustration just starting to creep in at this point. So Denmark really struggling to open the score, and indeed that was the final score, 0-0 between Denmark and Latvia, which means that both teams are now at the foot of their World Cup qualifying group, which is led by Lithuania with 3 points after 3 matches. Denmark will be most upset at having taken only 1 point. They would have expected to come back with a win and a healthy goal difference. It wasn't to be. They know that they now have to travel to Vilnius in Lithuania with a win almost a necessity, while Latvia now travel to Dublin on September the 9th to take on the Republic of Ireland. So 0-0, the final score in Riga between Latvia and Denmark. France played their first game since their disappointing European Championship when they took on Brazil in front of 35,000 fans at the Parc des Princes in Paris last night. Since Sweden, France have lost their manager, Michel Platini. He's been replaced by this man, Gérard Houllier, who made 1 or 2 changes to Platini's side, and notably dropping the former captain, the left-back, Manuel Amoros. Well, France struggled to get into this game. They seem to be missing the spark that inspired them during the qualification rounds for the European Championships. And they were quickly outplayed in midfield by a Brazilian side who may have lost some of the flair of the 1970s and early 1980s, but who are still one of the top sides in the world. France made 1 or 2 openings in the first half, that one to Marseille captain Didier Deschamps. But it was no surprise when Brazil took the lead after 43 minutes. Their quick turns leading to a foul by Prunier, and it was from the free kick that Jorginho crossed to his captain Rai. That header off the bar, and the rebound from Bruno Martini of AJ Auxerre, giving Brazil a 1-0 lead. As we see it again, Rai totally unmarked at the far post. The header originally onto the bar, surprising Martini, who can do no more than put it into his own net. Well, in the second half, things were very much the same. A case of France struggling to find the form that they had last winter and this spring, and Brazil starting little by little to open up and show the attacking flair that we expected from them in the 1980s. Indeed, their speed at times was too much for a French side which was reputed to be one of the quickest sides in Europe. And although Laurent Fournier here showed a few touches of skill, it was Brazil who were by far the better side on the night. And it was after 52 minutes that Brazil made it 2-0 after an excellent move involving 9 players. Those players were Romario, Mauro Silva, Rocha, Valdo, Ricardo and Careca. Careca here putting the ball over to Jorginho, whose right foot cross found Luis Enrique of Monaco in the 6-yard box. As simple as it looks, 2-0 for Brazil. Franck Sauzet could have brought France within 1 goal of Brazil in the final minute, but it wasn't to be. 2-0, the final score in Paris between France and Brazil. Meanwhile, the Brazilian defender Branco has said he would rather leave his Italian club Genoa than be forced to watch the opening matches of the season from the sidelines. Branco is one of 4 overseas players at Genoa and is the first to make a stand against the rule which allows only 3 to play at any one time.
As well as his In Kingston, Jamaica, the home team in green faced Trinidad and Tobago in a World Cup qualifier. Already 2-1 up from the first leg, Jamaica extend their lead with a goal from Davis, a professional in Israel. Trinidad and Tobago were the last team eliminated in the 1990 qualification, and they keep their 94 hopes alive with a goal from Haynes. But Jamaica hold on for the aggregate win, and they move into the second round with Canada, Bermuda and El Salvador. Tokyo's National Stadium is packed with 60,000 spectators for the second match of the friendly international series between Japan and Italian giants Juventus. The first match ended in a draw, and with Japan about to launch a new professional league next year, they're looking to improve on that result. But in the 15th minute, a penalty is awarded to the Italians. Baggio puts Juventus ahead. Naturalized Japanese midfielder Ramos is brought on early in the second half to assist striker Miura as Japan's Dutch coach Hans Uft opts for all-out attack. And in the 92nd minute, a deflected corner gives the home team the equaliser.
South Africa's chances of reaching the finals of the African Nations Cup all but disappeared with the 1-0 defeat by Zambia in Johannesburg on Sunday. This Group 5 qualifying game for the finals in Tunisia in 1994 showed that improvements are still needed in the South African team, but it must be remembered that the performance came against one of the best teams on the African continent. In the second half, David Naeti went close for South Africa, and Chippa Masinga had another scoring opportunity, though his header went wide. Zambia looked dangerous on the counter-attack, but South African keeper Mark Anderson was always alert. But then in the 72nd minute, the ball was loose in the South African area. The shots went in, but Timothy Mwitwa finally put the chance away. There it goes, 1-0 for Zambia. South Africa pressed for an equaliser, but it never came. In injury time, Chippa Masinga was actually sent off, and that was the first South African to be shown the red card in international soccer after a tackle on defender Samuel Chomba. A last chance from a free kick came to nothing for South Africa, and that left them bottom of their African Nations group with 2 matches against Mauritius to come, followed by return games in Zimbabwe and Zambia next year. So 1-0 to Zambia in Johannesburg. in a Group 4 World Cup qualifying match. Czechoslovakia were actually making their debut in the competition, while Belgium were making their third appearance already, having previously beaten Cyprus and the Faroe Islands. Top of the group with Belgium before this match were Romania, who have already beaten the Faroe Islands and also Wales. Well, it was a fine match this evening in Prague. Both teams playing high-quality football. Quick action in midfield especially. Enzo Schifo particularly impressive in the first half for Belgium. And although Czechoslovakia very active in the first half, peppering in shots on Michel Prudhomme's goal, they certainly didn't have things all their own way. And there you have it, after 34 minutes, the cross by Marc de Gries, put into his own net by Chovanec to make it 1-0 for Belgium. Czerniatinski putting the pressure on Chovanec, but the goal accredited to the Czech defender. We now join it in the second half, and Belgium still firing in the shots on the Czech goal. Mikuláško having something of a hard time this evening, and Czechoslovakia having to go and look for the equaliser. Prudhomme also not having a quiet evening. And after that foul on Kadlec, Czechoslovakia had a golden opportunity to bring the scores level. It was Kadlec himself who took the free kick after 77 minutes. You can see the mistake by Prudhomme, diving somewhat over the ball. 1-1, and Czechoslovakia breathing a sigh of relief. They're back in this one. Very much the fault, though, of Michel Prudhomme. But after 83 minutes, a lovely move by Belgium. It was Schifo who played it to Wilmot, who played it to Czerniatinski, who turned his marker to place the ball past Mikuláško. 2-1 to the visitors. Paul van Himst, the Belgian manager, can be happy with that. You can see some lovely intricate play in the Czech penalty area, holding off his marker beautifully to place his shot into the goal. 2-1 for Belgium. And they tried to make it 3-1. A lovely shot there for Belgium, but it wasn't to be. 2-1 the final score in Prague. Czechoslovakia making a very poor start. Belgium winning what may well be their hardest match, along with the match against Romania that they will have to play. They now lead the group. A fine result then for Belgium in Prague this evening. 14,000 fans were in Linz last night to see Austria take on Portugal in a friendly international. Austria were using this game as a warm-up for their World Cup qualifying series, which will begin later this month. They find themselves, of course, in the same group as Bulgaria and France, and it was Austria who dominated the game in the first half. That goal coming after 37 minutes. No surprise, really. Tony Polster, the scorer. A fine start by Austria. Rounded off with a fine goal. 1-0, and that was the score at half-time. See the goal again. A nice cross from the right. Tony Polster unmarked in the centre, easily beating the keeper. 1-0 for Austria. So 1-0 was the score at half-time, as we've said. But in the second half, things changed. Austria slowed down their pace, and after 56 minutes, it was Helder for Portugal who got the equaliser. Well deserved, after Portugal fought their way back into the match, having been dominated in the first half. 1-1 the score, and that indeed was the final score in Linz last night. We're going to take a short break now, but we'll be back with basketball and chess here on Eurosport News.
Eurosport News is brought to you by Olymp.
Welcome to Eurosport News. My name's Carlton Kirby. Well, a full night of international action, both the World Cup qualifiers and several friendly matches on the card. Scotland it was, who went to Switzerland for their Group 1 match. And a bad start for the Scots. Last played Switzerland in that 2-2 draw before the European Championships. Then enough to put Switzerland out. But it was the Swiss who went in ahead. Adrian Nupp after just 2 minutes. Ali McCoist had plenty of stick from the press of late. Didn't score in the Euro Champs. Certainly did last night. His 13th international goal, 13th goal this season. Well, it came in the 13th minute. Beautifully timed run. On hand when needed. Well, in the second half, it's the Swiss that certainly turned up the pressure. Scotland had very little of this one. Mr. Knupp again in the 72nd minute. Switzerland heading for victory, topping Group 1. Their first match against Estonia, they won 6-0. And George Bregti it was who topped it off in fine style. 8 minutes from the end, 3-1. Switzerland win it. And just look at the way this one curled in. Beautiful. Andy Gorham, not a chance. And once again for you. Breggy causing Scots' hearts to sink. 3-1 the final score. Well, just 6,500 people turned out to Oslo to see Norway take on San Marino. Almost a goal for every one of the people in the crowd. The first, nowhere near the last, for Rekdal. Haller, it was, just 2 minutes later in the 6th minute, who got his first of what was to prove to be a hat-trick. San Marino joined UEFA just 3 years ago. There were plenty of questions then as to whether they deserved such a world status. Those questions, I'm sure, will be raised again. With just a quarter of an hour gone, 3-0. Sorloth, the scorer. And Sorloth again, halfway through the first half. Well, something must have stirred within San Marino. They managed to hold on until the second half, that is, when Roger Nielsen made it 5-0 to the Norwegians. What a beauty. Everyone in the San Marino side blaming themselves. Haller with his second, 6-0. 6 minutes later. And Roger Nielsen appeals for handball and a penalty. The crowd may have only been 6,500, but they were certainly getting a feast. 7-0. Haller then for his hat-trick. The record score for Norway was 12-0 against France in 1946. Many thought they were going to equal that, if not beat it. Mikland making it 9-0. And finally, Rekdal, 10-0 the score. With 11 minutes remaining, not another goal. Norway 10, San Marino 0. In Group 3, Northern Ireland played host to Albania. Some of the Albanian side went missing on the way to Ireland. Doubtless they were sorely missed. Colin Clark scoring his 13th international goal on the quarter hour, overtaking Jerry Armstrong's record. And then Kevin Wilson made it 2-0 on the half hour. Just before the break, Jimmy McGilton. Oxford United It was. It was to make it 3-0. In the meantime, a few scuffles. Albania feeling hard done to by a strong tackle. Goalkeeper Danny coming out to make the points. Jimmy Gilton then. Finally sealing it. Northern Ireland 3, Albania 0. Also in Group 3, Jack Charlton's Ireland side, well, they took on Latvia. Partisan crowd in Dublin, of course. Kevin Sheedy opening up after half an hour. Big Jack, the honorary Irishman, must have been well pleased with this performance. After the break, John Aldridge showing his class. And 20 minutes later, it was Aldridge from the spot. A little stagger before he kicked it, but it counted. And it was John Aldridge who was to get a hat-trick. 4 minutes from time, a beauty. Flying over Iguchi, the Latvian goalkeeper. Ireland 4, Latvia 0. Some good cheer for Wales as well in Group 4. Faroe Islands admitted into UEFA just 4 years ago. Ian Rush making sure there are no more upsets. 5 minutes, it was 1-0. Dean Saunders, Rush's Liverpool teammate, making it 2 just before the half hour. 6 minutes from the break, Bowen made it 3. When the Faroe Islands were admitted into UEFA, of course, they produced that marvellous win over Austria. Alan Merker was the hero then. No goals for the Faroe Islands on this night, though. Ian Rush using the post well. 4-0. Clayton Blackmore adding a 5th to the goal feast. Could have been more. Ian Rush faced the man in the bobble hat, Knudsen. Well, the bobble hat obviously worked. I'm sure it put Rush off. Not a little bit. But Rush it was, credited with the last goal. Wales 6, Faroe Islands 0. Well, in Group 5, Luxembourg, here in the red, played host to the Hungarians. And a rude awakening for the small principality. Hungary well on target. Datari opening the scoring after 16 minutes. After the turnaround, Kovacs finding the net once again for Hungary. Hungary had a bad start to their qualifiers, their home game. They lost 2-1 to Iceland. So they're out to prove themselves away from home. They certainly did that, not least that man, Kalman Kovacs. And indeed, it was he who got the third and final goal of this game in the 78th minute. The final score, Hungary 3, Luxembourg crashing to a home defeat 0. Well, the big grudge match of the night, Finland and Sweden. Helsinki Stadium packed with 27,000 people. Well, was it a penalty? Not that one, says the police lady. Nevertheless, a penalty was to come in the 79th minute. Klas Ingersson finally putting it away. 27,000 Finnish fans whistling their hearts out. Certainly wasn't going to put Ingersson off. He chose his spot and took it. Finland 0, Sweden 1. Welcome back. Well as those World Cup qualifiers, quite a few friendly matches going on. The Netherlands playing host to Italy in one of the best. Dennis Bergkamp delighting 12,500 fans. Surprisingly low crowd in Eindhoven, turning out to see this Italian side. Indeed, Van Basten providing Bergkamp with a second. 2-0 after just 21 minutes. 8 minutes later, AC Milan's Iranio pull one back. And just before the break, Roberto Baggio it was who stepped up to take the penalty. Muted, to say the least, the crowd. 2-2 then, it stayed into the break. Italy turned on the pressure, just couldn't get in. Baggio hitting the crossbar. Eventually the breakthrough came though. Vialli, beautiful header. Not such a good haircut. Italy winning 3-2. Well, plenty of press criticism of England's game in Spain, in Santander. Busquets, Martin Busquets for the Spanish, turning on the style. Perhaps a little hard done to England. 1-0 it was. Fonesca with the game's only goal. You don't go to Spain, come away with a big win easily. Nevertheless, criticism for England. Spain 1, England 0. In Poland, Israel playing for the first time in the European zone. Political reasons have kept them out of this zone in the World Cup qualifiers in the past. They used to settle themselves placing in the Oceania zone against the likes of Australia and New Zealand. Roman Schwezek it was who put Poland ahead after 24 minutes. And then a familiar name, Ronnie Rosenthal it was, who levelled it for the Israelis. Solo effort into the box. 1-1, the final score. Israel, a great result for them. They're still to face Bulgaria, Sweden, France and Austria. A full night of international football action. Angus Loughran has the details.
Yes, World Cup qualifying in Bulgaria against France, the big game of the night in Group 6. Bulgaria, who've started off their campaign so well, beating Finland by 3-0 against a French side who'd never won in Bulgaria and had to come back from the disappointment of losing their last game against Brazil and, of course, the summer's European Championships, when France were expected to do so much under Michel Platini, but now under Gérard Houllier, they've come back and expecting more. Well, bad news for the French again this evening. Papin, the culprit this time, he fouled Kostadinov, and you can see here the challenge very late, and the experienced Papin, now playing in AC Milan, gave away a penalty. Bulgaria then taking the lead, and it was the start of what was to be a very disappointing night for the French. Hristo Stoichkov from Barcelona grabbing his 5th goal for his country. Worse was to follow though for the French, who really were very lethargic. The second goal coming within 6 or 7 minutes. They could have gone 2-0 down there as the chances rained in for the Bulgarians, with Stoichkov in particular having an excellent match. The French management team must have wondered just when their luck was going to change, having never won in Bulgaria before. Their night was completely ruined with a second goal here, a slight freakish chipped effort from Ballarit. And Bulgaria 2 in front, and the French not knowing what's hit them in this first match in Group 6. Remember, Austria, Sweden, Israel and Finland make up the group. And Balakov from Sporting Lisbon scoring the second goal. Martini is well beat. The mistake there was by Emmanuel Petit from Monaco. France tried desperately hard to get back into the game. Bordeaux shot their best effort, but at half-time, it was 2-0 to Bulgaria. Into the second half now, and the French side knew that they had to score at least twice to get a point. Their best chance coming to Decamps. And you see it again. He should have done a lot better than that, at least hitting the target. France continued to press in the closing minutes, but Bulgaria always felt had enough. First appeals for a penalty, and then an off-the-line clearance denying the French. Kiev from Bulgaria saving the day and getting injured in the process. Coming up to the full-time whistle, it was a night when France once again went to Bulgaria and came back with no reward. 2 wins out of 2 for Bulgaria, who beat Finland 3-0 in their first match. And next, they've beaten France.
France travelled to Bulgaria for a World Cup qualifier, hoping to restore some national soccer pride. But striker Hristo Stoichkov gives the Bulgarians the lead from a penalty. 6 minutes later, Bulgarian pressure leads to a second as Balakov's deflected shot beats Martini. The French, a shadow of their former selves, are unable to fight back, and Bulgaria win to head European Group 6. In the South Pacific, Australia travelled to Honiara to take on the Solomon Islands in an Oceania Group World Cup qualifier. The visitors in yellow score after just 8 minutes through Viart, and they look to be in control. However, excessive heat and humidity take their toll on the Socceroos. With only 7 minutes left, the Solomon Islands equalise through Vato. But substitute McCulloch scores a late winner for the Australians to save coach Thompson's blushes.
The Faroe Islands have sprung surprises in the past, but the present World Cup campaign in the European Cup Group 4 has been notable for the number of goals conceded. Cyprus were the visitors in Torshavn on Tuesday, and 2-0 it ended. Sotiro and Papa Vasilin giving Cyprus a 2-0 lead.
Eurosport News is brought to you by Olympus Camera.
Welcome back. A full night of European footballing action. Qualifications for the World Cup in America up for grabs. Denmark, the European champions, they went off to Lithuania, the capital Vilnius. A tremendous crowd turned out to see this one. Denmark, of course, drew 0-0 with Latvia just a fortnight ago. Widely regarded as points lost, despite tremendous efforts by these Baltic states. And tonight, sadly for Denmark, well, it was a similar story. Schmeichel, Laudrup and Krispetsen, they all shot over the bar. Schmeichel being kept extremely busy. At the other end, Martin Kennis. in the Lithuanian goal. Well, he was just quite outstanding, foiling many a Danish attempt and then saving a penalty. Well, you can't do better than that, as you can hear from the crowd. Christoph, the Dane, who missed it. The crowd went mad. The Danes, well, they just got depressed. The deadlock continued, despite some fine efforts. The Lithuanians going close. The score was to remain 0-0. Elstrup just striking the bar. But it just wasn't going to happen. Lithuania 0, Denmark 0. The Danes mightily displeased. In Oslo, the Netherlands went on to take on Norway. Much changed side with new coach Dick Advocat changing the format. Certainly didn't seem to pay off. A foul by Danny Blint after just 6 minutes really puts any hopes of an early lead on the back burner for Holland. Kjetip Rekdal it was, the Norwegian number 9, who stepped up to do the business. (1-0). Holland now desperate to bounce back. That's exactly what they did just 5 minutes later. And what better man to do it than Dennis Bergkamp, the Dutch number 10. Norway and their fans reveling in the 1-0 lead. They enjoyed themselves for just 5 minutes, as we say. Bergkamp leveling it. Picked his spot beautifully. Slotted it home. Working beautifully in the opposition's box, finding his mark to perfection once again. Holland have dropped their old 4 front player system, now just 2 up front, and they're also missing Hullet, Wynalda, and the out of form Brian Roy. Big changes then in the format. And the gaps open to exploitation. Goran Soloth winning it for Norway. And what a way to do it. Dick Advocat, the new coach of the Netherlands, with plenty of work to do. The final score then, Norway 2, Holland 1. In Group 2, Poland took on Turkey. Poland, of course, with a tremendous World Cup record. Turkey, well, they've never actually made the finals, but they made a decent account of themselves here in Warsaw. Last night's World Cup qualifiers in Europe produced a few surprises. Holland, one of the casualties in Group 2, the same as England. Kjetil Rijkaard it was who opened for Norway in Oslo with a penalty after 9 minutes. Just 1 minute later, it seemed the Dutch were back in it. Van Basten, the provider, Bergkamp levelling up for Holland. That's the way it stayed until half-time. After the break, Norway took the game by the throat and shook it, not gently. Göran Sarov piercing the Dutch defence. 2-1 the final score. Holland have lost their last 3 internationals. Meanwhile, Poland entertained Turkey. In Poznan, a crowd of 10,000 saw them win. The 33rd minute goal by Wynalda, enough to see off the Turks. And this is how Group 2 is settling down. England, of course, haven't played yet. Norway at the top. They played two games. They got maximum points. The Netherlands down in 3rd, most disappointed. Just 1 game, but no points. Well, in Group 3, Vilnius, the venue. Denmark, the disappointed team. Lithuania, of course, the hosts. And on 55 minutes, Denmark missed a penalty. Martin Kenas, the goalkeeper for Lithuania, hero for a night. Denmark depressed. Meanwhile, in Riga, 7,000 fans turned out to see Latvia, the other Baltic state, doing well. Not least their goalkeeper, Caravagges. They held Spain to a 0-0 draw. Interestingly enough, this is the first time since 1954 that the Spanish team has been without any Real Madrid players. Looks like they could use a few. Latvia, it was, who drew 0-0 with Denmark 2 weeks ago. Still difficult to beat. This game, no fluke. Spain dominated throughout, but Latvia it was who closed the game down well. In the second half, the game got slower and slower, almost grinding to a halt. As Spain gave up trying to break through this incredibly stout defence. Spanish fans who travel there presumably realising just what Denmark had gone through. Caravagges, that goalkeeper, tremendous night for him. So Ireland it is, who lead with maximum points here in Group 3. Denmark depressingly down in 5th. The European champions won't enjoy that. Spain ahead of them with 3 points. Northern Ireland also with 3, having played 2 games. Lithuania in 2nd place, but they've played 4 matches in all. Bottom, Albania. In Kozice, 17,000 turned out to see the Faroe Islands, the amateurs, take on Czechoslovakia. Well, the 21st minute, Valef Namacek, the man who plays for Toulouse, opened the scoring. And then the Faroe Islands held on dramatically until just 5 minutes from time. The amateurs from the Little Isles took everything that was thrown at them. Then 5 minutes from time, they cracked. Kuka of Slavia Prague made it 2-0. Just 2 minutes later, Kuka again, 3-0. And then it was all sealed by Peter Dubovsky in the end. His 89th minute penalty sealed the match. 4-0 for Czechoslovakia. And this is how Group 4 is settling down. Belgium on top. Maximum points from 3 games. Poor old Faroe Islands played 5. No points at all.
Predictably, the Spanish get off to a tentative start with marked uncertainty in their defence. And while Spain spurn their chances at the other end, the Latvians are content to attack on the break. But the home team are equally wasteful with their opportunities. The match ends goalless, and the Republic of Ireland remain at the head of the group.
Brazil, in their traditional yellow, play host to Costa Rica in a friendly international. Rai opens the scoring for the home team. And 6 minutes later, he increases the lead. Costa Rica reply through Mallorca, but they soon concede a penalty which gives Rai his hat-trick and Brazil a 3-1 half-time lead. Jimenez then narrows Costa Rica's deficit, but Renato scores Brazil's 4th, and they continue their unbeaten streak under new coach Carlos Alberto Pereira.
The next round of the World Cup qualifying games are underway. This evening, Sweden took on Bulgaria in the Rosunda Stadium in Stockholm. And indeed, most of the action went to the Swedes. The men, of course, in their traditional gold and blue. The 19th minute, that attack by Sweden. Dahlin it was who fluffed the shot in the end. More chances came the way of the Swedes. Eriksson slotting past the post. Wasn't all one-way traffic though. Bulgarians through Blankov. Going close just before the break. Young again squandering the chances offered up by the Bulgarians to the European Championship semi-finalists. At the other end, Eriksson doing marvellous things in the Swedish goal. Of course, Swede keeper Ravelli broke 2 ribs against the Finns. Out of it this evening. After the break then, the deadlock finally broken. Martin Dahlin. 1-0 to Sweden. Well, relief indeed for the Swedes, as well as the crowd. And didn't he pick his mark beautifully? Look at this. "20 minutes later, sustained pressure from Sweden paid dividends. Anders Limpar providing the cross. Ingerson missed it. Patterson certainly didn't. 2-0 to the Swedes. Well, Sweden cranked up the pressure. But no more goals were on offer tonight. The final score, Sweden 2, Bulgaria 0. Sweden go to the top of Group 6. Maximum points from their 2 games.
A 10-0 home win tends to put the home team in good humour for the return leg, so Norway took themselves optimistically to San Marino. The Norwegians in red and white were ahead after only 7 minutes. Jan Jakobsen the scorer. But Scotland will testify that the tight little stadium and the bumpy pitch at Serravalle don't make for a smooth run of the ball. The aerial route proved profitable when the towering Jostein Flo headed the second, but that was the end. 2-0 to Norway and 2 more points. They sit comfortably at the top of Group 2 with maximum points and a goal difference of 13. There are, though, still 26 matches to play and plenty of time for the pack.
Final appearance, Paul Gascoigne was back at Wembley, and England looked good in the early stages. Shearer and Wright combined in the first couple of minutes for a chance that Platt might have accepted. Then it was Gaza opening up the defence, and from Platt's cross, Shearer's powerful header well saved by Torsford. Graham Taylor was looking for goals from the Shearer-Wright partnership, and Wright wasted a golden chance. Gascoigne, meanwhile, was his old cheeky self, and England almost snatched the lead just before half-time. The best move of the half involving Wright and Ince, and Platt denied again by Torsford. Gascoigne's enthusiasm then got the better of him, and he was booked for elbowing. But the yellow card didn't put him off, and Gaza almost provided a goal for David Batty. The breakthrough, though, came only 2 minutes later. Stuart Pearce's free kick touched home by David Platt. England almost added a second straight afterwards, but Shearer's header was cleared off the line by Mickelin.
So good evening and welcome to Eurosport News. The World Cup qualifying tournament took centre stage last night as some of the world's top footballing nations started out on the road they hope will take them to the United States in 1994. Italy haven't had to qualify for the World Cup since 1982, and their opening match in Group 1 saw them take on Switzerland in Cagliari, the Swiss having won their opening 2 matches. And what a start Switzerland had last night. Orol it was, opening the score for the visitors after 18 minutes. We see here the slow motion, the cross coming from Suter on the left. A terrible mistake by Marchegiani and bad marking by Costa Curta. Orol chipping the goalkeeper, 1-0 with 18 minutes gone. And indeed, Switzerland were to double that score just 3 minutes later. In fact, they were to score 2 goals in 4 minutes here. Again, a terrible mistake in the Italian defence, worsened by Marchegiani. Chapuisat getting the second goal. 2-0 the score for Switzerland. A dream start for the men in red. You see it again, Costa Curta's back pass, leaving the goalkeeper Marchegiani with very little choice, but he didn't do very well with what he had. And Chapuisat, thank you very much, 2-0, and that was the half-time score. And indeed, the Swiss were on the attack in the second half. This chance could have made it 3-0. Just sliding by the left-hand post of Marchegiani. 2-0 though still to Switzerland, but Italy were to come back, and with just 6 minutes to go, Roberto Baggio of Juventus was to make the most of, again, poor defensive errors in the Swiss defence this time. Baggio picking up the ball here, a left foot shot. 2-1, 6 minutes to go. Italy maybe with their noses back in this game. As we see it again, Switzerland won't be happy with their marking and their play in the area. A poor clearance, and Baggio very grateful for the chance, and a fine finish from the man from Juventus. And then into the final minute, and it was Stefano Eranio who snatched the draw for Italy. Literally the last kick of the game. 2-2 the final score. A tough night for Italy, but they scrape a draw against Switzerland. Again, Switzerland won't be happy about it, but the points shared in Cagliari. So Switzerland now lead Group 1 on 5 points after 3 matches. Italy are in second place, along with Scotland and Portugal, who drew 0-0 in Glasgow last night. The last 2 places are occupied by Malta and Estonia, who have both yet to win a match. Holland got their Group 2 campaign off to a poor start when losing to Norway last month, so they were looking to set the record straight at home to Poland last night, while the Poles would have been hoping to pick up further points, having notched up a win and a draw in their opening 2 games. And it was Poland who did get the best start. 18 minutes had gone, a mistake by Stanley Menzo, Kosminski of Udinese in Italy getting the goal. The Dutch will be asking some questions about Menzo's handling, although the conditions very wet. But Kosminski asking no questions, gratefully taking the chance. 1-0, 18 minutes gone. And just 2 minutes later, the Poles were to make it 2-0. And again, it was due to an error or poor marking in the Dutch defence. Kovacic getting behind Rijkaard, heading the ball down, as the copybook says, and Menzo stranded on his goal line. 2-0 to Poland. You see it again, the cross from the left. Rijkaard beaten behind by Kovacic. The header going down, and Menzo, well, he won't be very happy about that. But Holland were to come back, and they were to pull 1 goal back just before half-time, indeed after 43 minutes of the game. And it was Peter van Vossem, who plays in Belgium for Anderlecht, who got the goal. So Holland back in the match on the stroke of half-time. Half-time, 2-1 to Poland. And indeed, Holland were to do better in the second half. They levelled things up in the very first minute of that second half. And it was that man from Anderlecht, Van Vossem, again getting the goal. A mistake by the Polish keeper, very reminiscent of Menzo's mistake in the first half. Van Vossem as grateful as Poland had been. 2-2, and that was to be the final score. So the points shared between Holland and Poland last night. And that draw leaves Poland in second place behind Norway, whose 1-1 draw against England at Wembley last night means they are still the clear leaders in Group 2. England and Holland are in third and fourth place, both on 1 point, while Turkey and San Marino are yet to get off the mark. The 2 matches played in Group 3 yesterday failed to produce a single goal, with first Denmark and the Republic of Ireland and then Northern Ireland and Spain all sharing the points. So the Republic still lead the group just ahead of their neighbours from the north, while Spain and Lithuania both find themselves ahead of European champions Denmark. In Group 4, Belgium have been the team to beat so far, having won their opening 3 games, including an impressive victory in Czechoslovakia. Last night they were at home to Romania, who were also defending a 100% record after their first 2 matches. And it was a very close game. Both sides had chances to open the score in the first half. This shot by Dumitrescu could have got the opening goal for Romania, but just over the bar of Michel Prudhomme. And indeed, it was Belgium who were to get the opening goal. The shot by Rudy Schmitz of Antwerp after 25 minutes. The 29-year-old playing in only his second match for Belgium. Michel Prudhomme, the goalkeeper, happy, as were the crowd in Brussels last night. Fine run holding off the markers. A right-footed shot, 1-0 to Belgium. Moving into the second half, again the score could have changed. Belodedici had this chance to pull a goal back for Romania, but it wasn't to be. 1-0 the final score for Belgium. Their 100% record continues. Staying in Group 4, Wales last night made the trip to Cyprus, with both nations on 2 points, having won and lost 1 in their opening 2 matches. 0-0 was the score at half-time, but Wales took the lead after 51 minutes. The corner from the right by David Phillips. Mark Hughes with the header through a crowded penalty area. Hughes' first goal, would you believe, for 2 years for Wales. His 10th international goal, a very valuable 1-2, giving Wales the lead in the second half in Cyprus. Cyprus, though, had chances to pull a goal back. Best chance for Savides, not quite making it. And again, another chance for Costa was missed in the second half. So the points going to Wales, 1-0, the final score in Cyprus. And looking at the Group 1 table, Belgium's 100% record after 4 of their 10 matches means that they look to have already taken out an option on the trip to America in 2 years' time. Both Romania and Wales are 4 points behind with 1 game in hand, with Czechoslovakia and Cyprus both on 2 points, and the Faroe Islands yet to get off the mark. In Group 5, Russia were playing in their first official match since the breakup of the Soviet Union as they took on Iceland in Moscow. This was Iceland's 4th game in the tournament so far, the men from the north having won 1 and lost 3. And Russia were on the attack in the first half, trying to force a goal, but indeed the goal came in the second half. It was after 64 minutes that it came. Iceland had held on well up to this point. Russia finding it hard to break the Icelandic defence. But there's the goal, 64 minutes, Joran the scorer, and indeed that the final score in Moscow last night. A narrow win, but a win nevertheless for Russia. So Russia are off the mark in Group 5 and they are now in 3rd place on 2 points along with Hungary. The leaders in the group are Greece, who have won the 2 games they have played so far. Only one nation will go through from those 5 as opposed to 2 in the other European qualifying groups. And we finish our roundup of last night's World Cup qualifying action in Paris, where France took on Austria in Group 6. The French hoping to improve on their first match, which they lost by 2-0 in Bulgaria, while Austria were making their debut in the competition. And a dream start for France. 3 minutes had gone, and it was that man from AC Milan, Jean-Pierre Papin, scoring the goal. A fine move by the French. The new man, Xavier Gravelaine, passing to Eric Cantona of Leeds. Cantona showing his magic at the edge of the box. A chip shot over to Papin. No questions asked. A right foot volley and 1-0 after 3 minutes. Moving into the second half, the substitute Pascal Villarua on the left with a beautiful curling ball. And that man, Eric Cantona, again, he provided the one for Papin. He scored one himself, making it 2-0 for France last night. As you can see, a beautiful curling ball from Villarua. Cantona stretching the right foot out. 2-0 to France. They had a chance to make it 3-0 with this penalty by Papin, but that one went over the bar. 2-0 the final score in Paris last night. And that win for France sees them move into 3rd place in Group 6. The leaders in the group are Bulgaria, who have 4 points, as do Sweden. Austria and Finland have still to notch up their first points, while Israel have yet to play their first match. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back with more football action and welcome back to Eurosport News. While the rest of Europe was involved in World Cup qualifying, the holders Germany, who of course qualified by right for the final phase in 1994, took on Mexico in a friendly match in Dresden. Germany weren't quite at their best last night, but they had plenty of chances to take the lead. This free kick by Thomas Hessler, who was incidentally given the award for the German Player of the Year just before this match. Germany could have taken the lead there. It wasn't to be. A fine curling free kick by Hessler. He showed us 1 or 2 of those in the European Championships earlier this year. But Mexico keeping him out on that occasion. Germany had further chances in the match to take the lead. But again, Mexico strong at the back. And it was in the second half that the goal came. 58 minutes had gone, and it was Rudi Völler of Marseille who got the goal, chipping both defenders from the edge of the box, having rounded the keeper. 1-0 to Germany after 58 minutes. A fine individual effort by Rudi Völler. So Germany taking the lead, but Mexico were to come back and provide something of a shock with an equaliser through Hermosillo. After 72 minutes, 1-1 then, and that indeed was the final score. A fine result then for Mexico last night, holding World Cup holders Germany to a 1-1 draw in Dresden. Well, having qualified for the 1994 World Cup as holders, Germany now know that FIFA today announced that the African Group World Cup qualifying match between Liberia and Cameroon, due to be played in Monrovia on Sunday, has been postponed indefinitely. Fighting in the civil war in Liberia has reached such a level that FIFA can no longer assure the security of the 2 teams.
Big, bold centre-forwards, powerful in the air, used to be the exclusive preserve of British football. But Turkey have found one in 20-year-old Sakur Hakan, who headed his team into a first-half lead against San Marino with a goal reminiscent of a Hakeley. This was the 4th goal in the last 5 internationals for the young striker from Galatasaray, and England should take note. The 30,000 spectators in Ankara outnumbered the entire population of the tiny principality. But 7 minutes into the second half, the minnows of Group 2 turned the game on its head. Baciocchi scoring their first ever goal from open play. 11 previous internationals have produced just one penalty, and the celebrations bordered on the delirious. This had been their first corner of the match, and although the veteran Bonini, who used to play for Juventus in the 80s, failed to make a connection, Baciocchi, left unmarked, certainly didn't. With 10 minutes left, Turkey's frustration boiled over into two controversial incidents. When Aouz went down and a challenge in the penalty area, the home crowd bayed for a penalty. But not only did the Arabian referee, Mr. Boussaïm, not give it, he also booked Aouz, who may have tried to make the tackle look more than it was. Much more serious, though, was the pitch invasion by an enraged spectator, who manhandled the referee before being overwhelmed and unceremoniously thumped by the security police. This incident may well have ramifications from UEFA. The 1-1 scoreline was transformed in an amazing last 4 minutes. The free kick taken too quickly for the defenders, and Oran scored at the second attempt. The celebrations were as much in relief, and the replay showing just how fortunate the attacker had been.
In soccer, Italy, 3 times World Cup winners in blue, play Switzerland in Cagliari in a qualifying match for the 1994 finals. Oral gives the visitors a 17th-minute lead after sloppy Italian defending. And when keeper Marchegiani's disastrous attempt to dribble around Chapuisat fails, the Swiss take a shock 2-0 lead. Just 7 minutes from time, Italian hopes are revived when Baggio scores. And with the game into injury time, Eragno saves Italian embarrassment with the equaliser. Switzerland now head their group with 5 points from 3 matches. In a Central American qualifying tie, Minnows Bermuda score a shock 1-0 win over El Salvador, with Lightbourne's 32nd-minute header increasing their chances of making the third round. Elsewhere in the Caribbean and in the same group, Jamaica in green meet Canada in Kingston. Wright raises the expectations of the capacity 25,000 crowd in the National Stadium when he scores in the 70th minute. But Jamaican hopes are dashed when Mitchell equalizes 5 minutes from time. Despite a last-minute assault, the match ends in a draw, which leaves Bermuda as surprise leaders of the group.
In Saudi Arabia, the hosts are awarded a 51st-minute penalty against the USA in the inaugural Intercontinental Championship in Riyadh. Albishi scores for the Asian champions before 75,000 adoring fans. The tournament, designed to pit the 5 reigning continental title holders against each other, suffers from the absence of European champions Denmark. Tunisian books the Saudis' path into the final with a second goal, and Massaid completes the defeat of the 1994 World Cup hosts by making it 3-0. In the other semi-final, Argentina upholds South American honour when Batistuta completes a superb 5-man move to score against the Ivory Coast. He then scores again as Argentina rout the African challengers 4-0. We'll bring you the final in next week's show.
And welcome back to Eurosport News. Saudi Arabia was host this week to the Intercontinental Cup, bringing together the champions of 4 continents, South America, North America, Africa and Asia. In the final yesterday, Argentina took on Asian champions and hosts Saudi Arabia at the King Fahd International Stadium in Riyadh, and it was Argentina who opened the score through Rodriguez after 17 minutes. A fine start then for the former world champions, and indeed they were to go one better after 25 minutes. Pass from the right by Basualdo, and the goal by Claudio Caniggia to make it 2-0 for Argentina. A fine goal for the man from AS Roma. Just before half-time, a chance for Saudi Arabia. This shot by Al Hafri, headed away by Vasquez, and 2-0 the score after the first half. Moving into the second half, then another chance for Saudi Arabia, this time for Abdullah Seller. A fine shot and a diving save by Goicoechea, just putting the ball round his left-hand post. Argentina absorbed a lot of that pressure, and they made the game safe in the 62nd minute. Batistuta's shot hit the post. Diego Simeone of Seville wrapping it up. 3-0 the score. Argentina with this game in the bag by now. But the consolation goal for the Saudis came after 65 minutes, a 35-metre shot from Said Al-Awaran. A poor effort, really, by Goicoechea in the Argentine goal. 3-1 the final score. Argentina took top prize of the International Cup and then left the humidity of the Middle East as their players dispersed around Europe.
In soccer, Morocco, in red, play Ethiopia in a World Cup qualifying tie in Casablanca. The Ethiopian team is decimated as 6 squad members defect in Italy en route to the game, and they include in their team 3 goalkeepers and a 40-year-old deputy coach in midfield. 4-0 down at half-time, they reappear with only 9 players, and then a further 3 are injured. In the 55th minute, with the score at 5-0, the Algerian referee abandons the match with only 6 Ethiopians on the pitch, 1 less than FIFA allow. And they now face heavy fines and sanctions from both CAF and FIFA.
Welcome back. South Africa have secured their first ever victory in the World Cup competition with a 1-0 win over the Congo in Johannesburg. In front of 25,000 fans at FNB Stadium, South Africa finally registered their first victory in soccer's ultimate competition when Chipper Masinga headed in the goal after 27 minutes. Brilliant work by goalkeeper Steve Crowley 3 minutes later prevented Sylvie Mbongo from getting the equaliser. Mbongo from the Congo being denied. Shortly after, Mbongo was carried off the field in agony after a rather heavy tackle. But the Congo continued to press forward. Laurent Baloki went close, but Crowley was the star of South Africa, denying them, the Congo, the visitors, once again. South Africa lost 4-0 to Nigeria recently and are indeed much improved, not least in the net. Draws in 2 crucial games in the CONCACAF division of the World Cup qualifying tournaments have produced a surprise leader in Group B. Bermuda it is, here home to Jamaica on Sunday. In the 6th minute, it was Kentuan Jennings who opened for Bermuda. What a cracker. In the 73rd minute, Paul Davis pulled one back for Jamaica to level the scores at 1-1. And that's how it finished. Meanwhile, El Salvador and Canada also in Group B. Much early pressure was on the Canadian goal to the delight of the South American home fans. And after 32 minutes, Julio Palacios it was who put them ahead. But the win was denied by Colin Miller. The final score, El Salvador 1, Canada 1.
And still with football, Canada have moved to the top of their World Cup qualifying group following a 1-0 victory over Jamaica in Toronto yesterday. 8,000 people at the Varsity Stadium, including many residents of the Toronto Jamaican community, gave the visitors a warm reception, but it was Canada who applied the early pressure in the cold, windy conditions. There was no score at half-time, but the host side opened their account after 53 minutes. Dale Mitchell heading in at the far post to make it 1-0. And indeed, Jamaica tried to come back and get the equaliser. But the final score was to be 1-0 between Canada and Jamaica. Canada now lead Group B of the CONCACAF division. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back with tennis action, so stay with us. In Group B of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying competition this weekend, El Salvador were at home to Bermuda. The visitors were met by a crowd of 75,000 fans in the Cuscatlan Stadium, and it was no surprise to see the home side take the lead after 22 minutes through Julio Palacios. And indeed, with 1 minute to go in the first half, El Salvador were to make it 2-0. The cross by Mauricio Cienfuegos and the goal by Jorge Gonzalez. 2-0 the score at half-time. Well, moving into the second half, that partnership was to be exchanged, as this time the cross by Gonzalez, the header by Cienfuegos. 3-0 the score, 52 minutes gone. And indeed, just 4 minutes later, El Salvador were to make it 4-0. Guillermo Rivera with the shot deflected by the defender, beating the goalkeeper, Dwayne Adams. 4-0 for El Salvador, 56 minutes of the game gone. But a consolation goal was to come for Bermuda with just 10 minutes gone. Leonardo Gota heading home from the corner. 4-1 the final score. El Salvador now second behind Canada in Group B. And welcome back to Eurosport News. In Group B of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying group yesterday, El Salvador made the trip to Vancouver to take on Canada in a match between the top two teams in the group. And it was the home side who had the best start, Colin Miller making it 1-0 after 12 minutes. But El Salvador were to come back, and it was Guillermo Rivera making the most of a rebound to make it 1-1 at half-time. But Canada were to go ahead early in the second half. Indeed, El Salvador were to go ahead early in the second half, only for Dal Mitchell to come back and make it 2-2 after 71 minutes. So, 2-2 the score, and El Salvador were to wrap it up in the last minute of the match. Oscar Ulloa lobbing the keeper, Paul Dolan. 3-2 the final score. El Salvador looked well placed to qualify for the next round. Further south, but still in Group B, Jamaica were at home to Bermuda. Hector Wright opened the score for the home team after 10 minutes. And indeed, Jamaica were to go 2-0 ahead. Just 5 minutes later, Roderick Reed making it 2-0, and that indeed the half-time score. But Bermuda were to come back somewhat in the second half. Sean Gota making it 2-1 after 60 minutes. Sean Gota making the most of the goalkeeping error. And indeed, Bermuda were to level the scores just 6 minutes later. Kenneth Painter making it 2-2. But Jamaica were to have the last say. A penalty by Hector Wright after 73 minutes. 3-2 the final score for Jamaica. In the other half of the CONCACAF competition, Mexico were looking forward to the trip to St. Vincent in the Caribbean yesterday. And indeed, it turned out to be a good afternoon for the Mexicans, taking the lead after 25 minutes through Zach Alces, 1-0 at half-time. After 57 minutes, Claudio Suarez was to make it 2-0, and Juan Francisco was to get the third after 71 minutes. Uribe was to wrap it up at 4-0 with 9 minutes of the match to go. 4-0 the final score. Mexico looked well placed to go through to the next phase.
Plenty of World Cup qualifying action. Romania drawing 1-1 with Czechoslovakia. The result keeps them second in Group 4 of the World Cup qualifiers behind Belgium, who are on the top. Meanwhile, France, they took on Finland. This goal from Jean-Pierre Papin. Absolutely superb. France winning that one 2-1. Group 6, of course, headed by Sweden with 6 points ahead of Bulgaria and then France. Well, it's not only Europe who are playing for a place in the World Cup in America. The CONCACAF area, Canada here taking on Bermuda, and what a plethora of goals there were. Canada playing in red, opening up with Bunbury 24 years old, West Ham player, born in Guyana. Well, he seems to be doing well for his home country. This one just over the line. Well, was it? Well, it all counted. 7 minutes that was, and then on 13 minutes, Bunbury again ahead of this time. Cross from Dale Mitchell, his teammate. 2-0 to Canada. Well, Bunbury was on for his hat-trick. And what a beauty, with the help of the post and an unkind deflection onto the goalkeeper. That made it 3-0 to Canada. Sean Gota pulled one back for Bermuda. Confusion in the box. And then Sammy Brown made it 3-2. Again, exploiting a terrible mix-up in the Canadian defence. But it wasn't all over. Just 4 minutes from time. Jeff Auger, the substitute. Final score, Canada 4, Bermuda 2. That result kept Canada on top with 6 points ahead of El Salvador and Jamaica. Meanwhile, St. Vincent, they were playing Costa Rica. Ronald Gonzalez with the only goal. St. Vincent 0, Costa Rica, the visitors, 1. Costa Rica second in Group A, behind Mexico. Mexico playing here in green, took on Honduras. Chepo de la Torre opening up after 12 minutes. And then the second half, Francisco Uribe, the substitute. Well, that was Chepo de la Torre going close once again. Mexico playing tremendously well. Expected to win the CONCACAF section. And there's Utribe's goal coming up. There it is. Mexico 2, Honduras 0. They stay ahead of the group.
Let's start our look back at what was an important week in World Cup action, particularly in Group 4. It was scoreless at half-time between Romania in the yellow and Czechoslovakia in the red and white in Bucharest, but all that was to change after 48 minutes. Fine running down the right-hand side by 28-year-old Marius Lacatuș. His cross provided the opportunity for Ili Dumitrescu to open the scoring after 48 minutes. Dumitrescu grabbing his second international goal in successive home games. He scored against Mexico, but it was Lacatuș who made the goal, and he had a magnificent match. 3 minutes into the second half, and Lacatuș's pass finding Daniel Montagno, and when it ran loose, it was Dumitrescu who finished it off. Romania, who'd won both their home games convincingly against Wales and the Faroe Islands in this group, had a setback when they lost 1-0 to Belgium, but they had most of the match. And the next chance they had, 10 minutes later, again Lacatuș the provider, and this fine effort from Sabau, producing an excellent save from Sparta Prague goalkeeper Petra Kuba. Sabau went very close to scoring on a number of occasions. Czechoslovakia, though, often threatened. Moravcik's free kick, and substitute Pavel Kuka going close with Bogdan Stelea in the Romanian goal, certainly beaten. 10 minutes to go, and Czechoslovakia finally got their equaliser. The foul was by Mihaly on substitute Kuka, and Joe Worrell, the English referee, in no doubt. 81 minutes on the clock, and Czechoslovakia with the opportunity to level things up in this very important Group 4 game. Have a look at the replay, and Kuka got away. Mihaly was late, and Joe Worrell entitled to give the penalty. Away goes Kuka, and there the late challenge. And the responsibility with Vaclav Nemeček, plays his football in Toulouse, and he tucked it away in exemplary fashion for his 5th international goal. The captain took on the responsibility, and Czechoslovakia get the equaliser. A really cool penalty in his 33rd international. Nemecek, 1-1. Romania, though, continue to press, and all the late action was to come their way. This is debut man, Ion Vladu, and a shot from Lakatush. And still more action to come, and Lakatush was the inspiration behind most of the attacking moves with Hadji. But it finished 1-1, and their confirmation of the latest Group 4 table. Belgium played for 1-4. They're involved in the next big game, Belgium against Wales. Highlights on Wednesday night on Eurosport. Two games in the last week in Group 6, and let's start in Tel Aviv with highlights of Israel against Sweden. Israel played surprisingly well in front of 35,000 and were unlucky maybe to have lost this match. Certainly they had the best of the early chances. And this free kick from Zohar had Ravelli beaten, and only the post saving Sweden from falling a goal behind. Israel really did play well in the first 25 minutes, and all the chances came their way. Here another one from Bravio, and again the woodwork denying Israel. A great atmosphere in Tel Aviv, but it was Sweden who draw first blood with a really special goal. One of the goals of the week coming up. Anders Limpar plays for Arsenal from outside the area. 38 minutes gone, and that's a really special goal for Limpar. Ronnie Ginsberg in the Israeli goal. No answer to that magnificent strike. The Swedish supporters who'd made the trip to Tel Aviv naturally delighted, and Limpar, well, he beat Benin, and then he beat Ginsberg from fully 30 yards. Israel, to their credit, hit back within 4 minutes with a really excellent effort from Benin. Tal Benin, the 21-year-old, struck that first time, and an ideal way for Israel to reply. They'd threatened for a long time. They'd had their bad luck with hitting the woodwork twice. When Benin got the opportunity, he buried it. Into the second half. And once again, Israel had the opportunities. Zohar bringing out the best in Ravelli. Avi Cohen's through ball giving Zohar the opportunity. Sweden, though, the masters at hitting on the counter, and they're really looking good things to qualify. Limpar again involved in the majority of the moves. And it was Limpar's cross that led to the second Swedish goal. Martin Dahlin naturally delighted. His 8th goal for his country. And the 24-year-old grateful for excellent work from Limpar. A really good cross and a fine header that had Ginsberg well beaten. "15 minutes left, and Israel finally succumbed to another fine Swedish move. And once again, it was Anders Limpar, very much the architect from the start. Roland Nielsen also had a fine game for Sweden, who took control after Dahlin had put them in front after 58 minutes. There's the third and decisive goal. Claes Ingersson certainly enjoyed that one as he celebrated to the delight of the Swedish fans in Tel Aviv with Anders Limpar. We'll be back with further highlights from this group. It's France against Finland after the break. France came to the Parc des Princes after achieving only their first win in 1992 in their previous international against Austria, 2-0 in this World Cup Group 6. Their first opportunity came from this free kick. Xavier Gravelin, who passed a late fitness test after being injured the night before in a training incident with Lama. And Finland nearly gave away the opening goal after 17 minutes. A defensive blunder, and it was Kari Laukkanen who must have been relieved to see the ball go past his own post. France, though, took the lead from the resulting corner. Gravelin's cross, and Jean-Pierre Papin with the special header. He has a tremendous scoring rate. That was France's 10th goal in 1992, and Papin's 7th. So 70% of the French goals, and a beautiful header gives France the lead. He got up to beat central defender Adi Hjelm, the Finnish captain, and really Kari Laukkanen, no chance. Papin to perfection, 1-0 France after 17 minutes. France had their best spell just after the goal. Didier Deschamps combining well, and Lizarazu going close to scoring on his French debut. Bordeaux left back at 22 must have been delighted by the fine pass Eric Cantona delivered him. And when he was one-on-one, he surely could have done better. But Cantona's delivery was first class. Lizarazu in space, but unable to finish it off. Finland forced into a substitution when Aberdeen's Patalainen had to go off with an ankle injury. They brought on Pasi Toriainen from Helsinki, and he actually had an excellent game replacing Patalainen, which couldn't have been easy. The rain came down in Parc des Princes, and France continued to put on the pressure in a first half in which they had 75% of it. Alain Roche, the Paris Saint-Germain centre-half, doesn't have many opportunities to score. He's not scored yet for his country. France continued to press forward and got their second when Lizarazu picked out Cantona. And Eric Cantona scores again, as he did against Austria, and grabs his 4th goal for his country. This one coming off his shoulder, but it was great vision from Lizarazu, who looked up, saw Cantona, and gave him the perfect opportunity. Laukkanen will be disappointed. They all count, though. And Cantona, who was booked in midweek for his club Leeds in their Coca-Cola Cup defeat by Watford, ends the week with a goal for his country, France. That second goal should have sparked off a performance for the Parisians to relish, but it was certainly anything but that in the second 45 minutes. Cantona, in the end, having his shirt tugged there by Petri Järvinen. Finland ended the first half with 1 or 2 really good opportunities, but nobody in the crowd could have expected them to produce the comeback that they masterminded. The French will have been very disappointed not to have run out comfortable winners after their excellent first half performance. Still in the first half here, and another opportunity goes a begging. This time Gravelines, the leading scorer in the domestic league with Caen, winning his second cap, missing out. The excellent Järvinen pulled down by Durand, and Finland given an opportunity just before half-time to test Martini. And certainly even Franck Sauzet was forced to defend. It was a first half that brought 2 goals for France. It could have been more. It was a first half which ended with a yellow card for Eric Cantona, as well as his goal. Once again, a Jekyll and Hyde performance from Cantona. He seems to get booked far too often. Basil Bowley, who played in a much more defensive role for the French in the first half. But despite Cantona's booking just before the break, the French can look back on those 45 minutes. Goals from Papin and Cantona, giving them a 2-goal advantage. Into the second half now, and the French side surely expected more goals. They had their best opportunity of the half right at the beginning. A power driver from Sauzet would have almost broken the net. Laukkanen had no chance with that. But from then on, it was Finland who forced the major threats. Sauzet's drive, as we see again, Laukkanen with the mistake, and that was hit with real power, a yard wide. Jukka Vakila must have been delighted with his side's commitment after that. And the French caught offside no less than 6 times in the second period, as Finland played a very shrewd tactical game. Papin felt he was on, but from there you can see he was 3 or 4 yards off. 54 minutes, and Finland get the goal they'd been threatening. Petri Järvinen on hand to stab home Marko Mura's cross. And Muru found Järvinen, and he beat Bowley and Martini. And Finland had a lifeline here, and that goal was to spark off a series of bizarre errors in the French defence. France having to hold on to a lead that was now only 1 goal after threatening to run away with the match when they went 2-0 up through Eric Cantona after 31 minutes. Kari Laukkanen, who now keeps goal for Waldorf Mannheim, 28-year-old Finnish goalkeeper with 33 appearances, made a fine save here from Franck Sauzet's drive. But in fairness, it was only one of limited opportunities that the French had in a second period that they'll certainly want to forget. Martini taking far too many chances and lucky to get away with them all as Finland press forward in the quest for a surprise equaliser. France, only 1 win in 1992 before this match. Finland, who hadn't won since the 16th of May 1991 when they beat Malta 2-0, were perhaps naive in their finishing. Basil Bowley, he played far more defensive than the crowd wanted. Didier Deschamps and Franck Sauzet, again failing to impress the half-full Parc des Princes. Sauzet clashing with Pataya. And so France introducing Christian Carambeau after 70 minutes. He's only the 2nd New Caledonian to represent his country, following Zimarco. and he's the first player from Nantes to represent France since Didier Deschamps back in 1989 when he played against Cyprus. Well, Nantes currently head the French First Division, and certainly Carambeau was anxious to make a quick impact on the international stage. His first touch safely gathered by Kari Laukkanen. Carambeau trying to get the French up for what was a task that they were making increasingly difficult. And despite the odd piece of brilliance, they weren't able to sustain their pressure for any more than 1 or 2 attacks at the time. Finland threatened right to the final whistle, and if it had been 2-2, the neutrals in the crowd certainly would have had no complaints. Jari Litmanen with the run, and it was Bowley and Carambeau who gave Gérald Houllier most to worry about. Once again, Finland showing that their attacking potential could have given them a surprise equaliser. Järvenen's cross providing more danger in the French penalty area. The French will claim they did enough in the first 45 minutes to comfortably win the match. They brought on Pascal Veyrua for his 19th international. The Auxerre midfield player just scored the 1 goal against Belgium. Made his debut in January 1990. And he came on for Xavier Gravelines, the leading scorer from Caen. But despite the 2 substitutes, France failed to get the breakthrough. Papin with the cross, but nobody on the end of it to finish it off. Into the closing stages, and it was Finland who, if anybody, looked like scoring more. Tarianen and Litmanen particularly dangerous. Certainly Sosi and Tarianen having a few words to each other. Sosi making the most of that challenge. France tried to steal the game inside the last minute. Cantona, his pass greeted with jeers from the French terracing. One last chance, and the French were hopeful when Carambeau got possession. Once again, Cantona, despite a fine, amazing run, failed with the accuracy of the pass. Eric Cantona, a Jekyll and Hyde performance from him. And into stoppage time, and Finland still trailing by 2-1. Veyrua just wide with his effort, as France went on to win by 2-1. They'll look back on this performance and see it as 2 World Cup points. But there were certainly anxious moments, and Finland could have snatched a point in stoppage time. Jari Litmanen, the Ajax midfield player wearing number 7, a lively threat to all, and he was given far too much space from this 3rd corner in stoppage time, but his shot was well blocked. The final score, France 2, Finland 1. Relief for the French. Well, their confirmation of the latest group table. Sweden looking good, 3 wins from 3 matches. Bulgaria and France share 2nd place, with Austria just behind. Israel and Finland look out of it. It's a very tight group, this one. 2 to qualify for the finals.
And he could start, as the popular press put it, by going on a turkey shoot. England's perennial opponents in qualifying competition arrived at Wembley and for a while threatened to do what they'd never done before: score. Only Chris Wood's reactions and then the woodwork prevented them from doing so. And Taylor, a patient onlooker against Norway, spent much of the first half out of his seat screaming instructions before Paul Gascoigne started doing what he does best.
It's not the best of passes. Gascoigne sort of took it second time around. And Gascoigne again. Lovely! Go! Wonderful! The expression of Laurie McMenemy summing up the feeling not only in the stadium but I suspect in the country. Right, arrogant little fleck from Gascoigne. Shearer coming in, scores! Lovely goal, lovely goal. Gascoigne might go the other way. No, it's Pearce, and it's struck, and it's in. Right. Beautifully taken by Walker. And must be Gascoigne, thank you very much. Lovely break on the left side, and Gascoigne's second of the evening.
It wasn't quite the stuffing some had hoped for, but 4-0 was satisfactory, and Gascoigne's inspirational cameo, his first of any real note since Italia 90, augured well for the next 3 qualifying games in the new year. But
Welcome to Eurosport News. My name's Carlton Kirby. Plenty of World Cup football last night, not least this game. Switzerland versus Malta in Group 1. The same group, of course, as the Scots. Thomas Bichel opening after just 2 minutes of the match for Switzerland. Malta just doing slightly better than Estonia in Group 1. Always going to be on the tail end of a thrashing. It was just a matter of how many goals it was going to be. Sirako Softa just on the break. 2-0 to Austria. And right on the whistle, Stefan Chapuzat made it Switzerland 3, Malta 0. Disastrous goalkeeping by the Maltese. The Swiss happy to go to the top of Group 1 ahead of Italy. They played 4 matches with 7 points. Plus Scotland lost 3-1 to the Swiss, doing just slightly better than the Maltese. So let's take a look at how the table's looking at the moment. Switzerland on top with 7 points, having played 4, just ahead of Italy, who drew 0-0 with the Scots last night at Ibrox. Italy with 2 points from 2 games, Scotland with 2 points from 3 matches. Things looking a little pale for the Scots. And Group 2, of course, England in action last night. 2 goals for Gascoigne, 1 for the league's leading scorer, Alan Shearer of Blackburn. Stuart Pearce, of course, slotting one home from the set piece. 4-0 then to England, leaves England in second place with 3 points from 2 games. Norway on top with 7 points from 4 matches. Third place, Poland, same points as England, same amount of games. In Group 3, Windsor Park, the venue. Northern Ireland playing Denmark. Denmark showing some of the skills that stood them in good stead in the European Championships this year. Lucky break for the Northern Irish early on. Mola Nielsen, the Danish coach, hoping for some better results from his Danish side, who tend to make 0-0 draws a speciality. Not so Henrik Larsson, though. Had different ideas, and in the second half, 51 minutes, that was the opener, and the game's only goal. Northern Ireland 0, Denmark 1. Into Spain, and Jack Charlton's Republic of Ireland side. Well, there are plenty of chances, not only this one from Quinn. They just weren't finishing them off. Vasquez up the other end for the Spanish. Cheered on by a huge crowd. But the ball wasn't to find the net. Well, Lopez got himself a red card for that one. Ireland would certainly have hit the back of the net had it not been for that atrocious foul just on the edge of the box. Yes, you had to feel sorry for Ireland. Aldrich indeed had goal disallowed, being offside. With just 18 minutes to go, many thought it was in, but nevertheless, Ireland stay top of Group 3 with 6 points, having played 4 games, ahead of Spain with 5 points from 4 matches. Denmark in 3rd place. Played 4, 5 points. Northern Ireland behind. Lithuania not doing too well. In Group 4, Belgium played host to 20,000 people, as well as the Welsh. End-to-end stuff, this. The midfield almost entirely cut out of this match. Stalins finishing off, though, in the 53rd minute, finding the net to put the Belgians ahead. Belgium now almost guaranteed a place in the '94 World Cup. They wanted a win to smooth their passage to the States, and that's exactly what they got. De Gries on the end of Prendham's kick. Polished it all off. Belgium 2, Wales 0. Wales did have their chances in this game. Confidence, though, seemed to leave them in front of goal. The Belgians finding the space that mattered, making their chances count, and that's what it's all about. Belgium then top of Group 4, 10 points, having played 5 games. Let's have a look at the rest of the table, and there it is. Maximum points then for Belgium. Romania, 5 points from 4 games. Poor old Wales, 4 points from 4 matches. Down at the bottom, the Faroe Isles, having played 5, not a point to their name. – 46,000 people, I beg your pardon, in the Nuremberg Stadium to see Germany take on Austria. A minute's silence for former Dutch national coach and Austrian Ernst Happel before the match. And although it was billed as a friendly, tempers did indeed begin to fray in this one. Plenty of near misses and plenty of hot blood between these two sides. In fact, 2 red cards on this evening. Artner for Austria and Kirsten of Germany. Locking antlers, this lot. Plenty of chances too in this game, but it just wasn't to be. Doll and Hosler went close for the Germans, but 0-0 it stayed. 10 men apiece. Germany 0, Austria 0. Welcome back. Plenty of World Cup action of late. Cyprus taking on Romania in Group 4. The Romanian side showing just what they can do. Popescu, who plays for PSV Eindhoven, got things rolling after 4 minutes. Half an hour later, Raduciu made it 2-0 to the visitors. Peters pulled one back from the penalty spot. In fact, it was to be Cyprus' only goal this game. Two-1 into the break. Afterwards, Hadji, former Real Madrid, made it 3-1 to Romania. And Mikhaili sealed the game for the visitors. Cyprus 1, Romania 4. Romania second in the table now. And in fact, there is the Group 4 table for you. Belgium with maximum points on top, looking certain for a place in the World Cup in America. Romania second with 7 points from 5 games. Wales in third place with 4 points from 4. At the bottom, the Faroe Islands. Well, across the water, the World Cup CONCACAF section in San Jose. 8,000 people were in to see Costa Rica play Mexico. Richard Smith opened for Costa Rica. Costa Rica hadn't beaten Mexico for 20 years. Mr. Smith on target once again. Right at the last, 3 minutes to go. Richard Smith once again for Costa. The crowd going suitably balmy. Costa Rica 2, Mexico 0. In the same group, Honduras took on St. Vincent. And it was to be the game that put St. Vincent out of the reckoning for the World Cup. Finally went in, Rodolfo Richardson, making it 1-0 to Honduras. 8 minutes later, Cesar Augusto Abando was the man who stepped up to take the penalty to put him 2-0 up. Honduras were desperate to score plenty of goals against St. Vincent, as this CONCACAF group could well go down to the line and all depend on goal difference. They stuck another one in just after the half hour. Juan Alberto Flores made it 3-0. And that's how it went into half-time. After the turnaround, though, St. Vincent dug their heels in. The flurry of goals didn't exactly come for Honduras. Antonio Anarvio got another to make it Honduras 4, St. Vincent 0. And there, that's how Group A finished. Mexico on the top, 2 points ahead of Honduras. Costa Rica looking dodgy for them. St. Vincent surely out. Welcome back. The first ever match between Israel and Bulgaria took place yesterday in Jerusalem. Group 6, of course, the World Cup qualifiers. And Israel not overawed at all in the first half by the Romanians. Ronnie Rosenthal, of course, from Liverpool in the squad. And Mizrahi going close early on for Israel. Well, it was a clean game. 15,000 turned out to see it. But in the second half, 66 minutes, Kirakov on the end of a pass from Stoichkov, the man from Barcelona, who made the team, the Bulgarian side, despite saying he couldn't make it after Sunday's game for Barcelona against Espanyol in the Spanish league. 1-0 ahead then, Bulgaria. Doing tremendously well, the Bulgarians in this Group 6. And indeed, Stoichkov involved once again for their second goal. From the corner, Ilyas headed on and Penev finished it off. Through the goalkeeper's legs, a little lucky. Israel 0, Bulgaria 2, the final score. And you can just see how lucky that goal was. Let's take a look at Group 6 at the moment then. Well, Bulgaria and Sweden together with 6 points. Sweden, though, with a game in hand. Welcome back. The CONCACAF section of the World Cup. Mexico, an avalanche of goals against St. Vincent, the team from the Bahamas. Francisco Uribe, beginning after 5 minutes. Carlos Hermosillo with another on 14. Hermosillo once again after just 23 minutes. 7 minutes later, Marcelo Bernal made it 4-0. A break of just 8 minutes before Francisco Uribe made it 5 to Mexico, none to St. Vincent. Luis Alves there with a penalty, 6-0. Marcelino Bernal making it Mexico 7, St. Vincent 0. And then the hat-tricks began. Not surprisingly, with a scoreline like this. 71 minutes, Marcelino Bernal. His hat-trick, 8-0. Carlos Hermosillo. His hat-trick, 9-0. Hermosillo again to make it 10 with his 4th, and Francisco Uribe, not to be left out of the hat-tricks, made it Mexico 11, St. Vincent 0. Well, slightly more sober scoreline in Honduras. Destined to qualify Honduras, Costa Rica well and truly out. Juan Flores with the opening goal for the Hondurans. Then the second half, Cesar Obando with the long shot. Made it Honduras 2, Costa Rica 0. Costa Rica pulling one back through their substitute, Javier Astuar, towards the end. The final score, Honduras 2, Costa Rica 1. And there is the CONCACAF Zone Group A general ranking at the moment. Mexico and Honduras well and truly through to the next round. Costa Rica and St. Vincent, once again, the bridesmaids. And Group B, El Salvador looking good. Canada, well, shaky start for them. Jamaica and Bermuda could still be in with a shot.
Left to play. In Group A of the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying section yesterday, Honduras were at home to Mexico, with both teams already assured of their places in the next phase of the competition. With the pressure off both teams, the crowd of 35,000 had little to cheer about during the goalless first half. But Honduras took the lead 4 minutes into the second. The goal coming from Nicolas Suazo. 1-0 then for Honduras at that point. But Mexico were to equalise just 7 minutes later, the goal going to Francisco Uribe. 1-1, the final score between Honduras and Mexico. So Mexico now top the group, and they go through with Honduras to play the next qualifying phase alongside Canada and El Salvador, the two qualified teams from Group B. Those four all play each other in the next phase. The winner of that phase is sure of his place in the 1994 World Cup finals in the United States. We're going to take a short break now, but we'll be back with Formula One action. Stay with us on Eurosport News. And welcome back. Brazil took on Germany in a friendly match in Porto Alegre last night, with the Germans hoping to put paid to recent criticism of their style of play with an impressive performance against a strong Brazilian side, which included many of their European-based players. But Germany were to be outplayed in the first half and went behind after 38 minutes to that goal by Luis Enrique, who plays in France for Monaco. And indeed, Brazil increased that lead 4 minutes later to a somewhat lucky goal. The rebound off Bebeto, leaving goalkeeper Bodo Illgner with no chance. 2-0 then at that point to Brazil, and indeed that the score at half-time. Germany pulled one back late in the match. Despite further chances for Brazil. That one by Bebeto going close, and the goal for Germany coming after 84 minutes. Matthias Sammer finding himself alone. After an excellent through ball, he rounded Taffarel to make it 2-1. But Brazil rounded it off with a fine goal in the very last minute. A lob come shot from Jorginho from the right wing. 3-1 the final score. A good performance by Brazil, leaving German manager Berti Vogts to face criticism of the press once more. In the World Cup qualifying Group 3 last night, Spain were at home to Latvia, with the host needing a win to take over from the Republic of Ireland at the top of the group. And they certainly went about it the right way, although they had to wait until the second half before finding a way through the Latvian defence. The opening goal coming from Barcelona striker Baquero after 49 minutes. And just 2 minutes later, it was another Barcelona player making it 2-0, Guardiola with that curling shot. (2-0) to Spain then after 51 minutes. They had to wait until the 80th minute for their third goal, this time coming from a Real Madrid player, Alfonso, eventually putting them all away. (3-0) then the score at that point. And Spain were to increase their lead further. 2 goals were to be scored in the space of 1 minute. Both of them coming from the same man. Begiristain of Barcelona making it 4-0 with that shot. The crowd in Seville certainly happy with things as they were going at that point. And indeed, Begiristain, as I said, getting his second goal in the space of a minute to make it 5-0. And that indeed the final score for Spain. A good evening's work for them against Latvia in Seville last night. So Spain now lead Group 3 with 7 points after 5 matches, which leaves them 1 point ahead of the Republic of Ireland, who still have a game in hand. A further point behind them come European champions Denmark and Lithuania, with Northern Ireland another point back in 5th. Still a long way to go, but the 2 qualifying places now look to be a battle between those top 3 teams, Spain, Ireland and Denmark.
Holland's orange shirts have looked a bit grubby since the European Championships, but once Peter van Vossen had scored neatly against Turkey, the image started to improve. Ronald Koeman welcomed back the prodigal son with a free kick over the defence. Ruud Gullit celebrated his return to international football in flamboyant style. Difficult to say whether he or his teammates were the more pleased. And it has to be said too that the home guard opened the door and put out the welcome mat for him. On a bitter night in Istanbul, maybe it was forgivable for defenders to freeze. Whatever the cause, Holland couldn't prevent Feaz raising Turkish hopes. The last word, though, was with Van Vossen. Having scored twice in Holland's previous match, he added his second goal in this one to give new Dutch coach Dick Advocaat his first win after 4 games in charge. We're less than a third of the way through this qualifying group. Before Norway appear again, Holland and England will both play twice more. For one safe prediction, San Marino won't qualify. Spain's fans needed something to cheer. They'd had 3 goalless draws in Group 3, one of them against the white-shirted Latvians. This was revenge, but Jose Baqueiro's opening goal didn't come until the 49th minute. The Latvians crumbled then and conceded 4 more. Alfonso, promoted from Spain's successful Olympic team, got the pick of them. Now Spain go above the Republic of Ireland in the table, but this is another complicated group with 7 teams involved and 3 of them yet to concede a goal. Berti Fuchs took the German team to South America for some sunshine and a friendly against Brazil and discovered that the old yellow-shirted magic is still to be reckoned with. 1-0 through Luis Enrique. But all Fuchs learned from the second goal is what can be achieved by a little pace and a lot of luck. Bebeto didn't even have the decency to look embarrassed. Germany's goal was hardly an object lesson either. Give them credit for beating the offside trap, but Matthias Sammer took deliberation to the point of indecision before scoring. Brazil's response was entirely in character. Jorginho letting fly with one of...
World champions Germany continued their South American tour and, having lost their opening match against Brazil by 3-1, travelled to Montevideo to take on Uruguay. Germany opened the score before half-time. The goal coming from Guido Buchwald of Stuttgart. Moving into the second half now, and Andreas Müller of Juventus found himself alone, rounded the keeper to make it 2-0. And in the 69th minute, Thomas Hessler of AS Roma was to get the 3rd goal for world champions Germany. 3-0 the score at that point. Uruguay were having a bad time against the world champions. None of their chances going in. Bodo Illgner too good for that one. Jürgen Klinsmann was to make it 4-0 for Germany after 75 minutes. 4-1 the final score, with Uruguay scoring a late consolation goal. Join us after the break. And welcome back. In Group C of the Africa zone of the World Cup qualifying competition this weekend, Zimbabwe were host to Egypt, who had made it to the finals of the last World Cup in Italy. The Zimbabweans, who included Liverpool goalkeeper Bruce Grubler, were expected to capitulate to the Egyptians, but instead played inspired football to produce something of a shock. The game took a while to get going, with chances missed at both ends. But Zimbabwe opened the score on the stroke of half-time. Makanza finding Sawu. Who in turn gave it to Pete Ndulu of English club Coventry City, who left Shobir with no chance. 1-0 for Zimbabwe. Then the score at half-time, and the crowd having some original entertainment during the break. And in the second half, Zimbabwe went further ahead. The cross by Benjamin Kunjera, and Sawu putting the ball away. 2-0 at that point for Zimbabwe. However, Egypt were to pull 1 goal back. Across from the white, Abdu Abdozi making it 2-1, leaving Groblar with no chance. And Egypt had further chances to level the scores in the second half, but they were to go begging. 2-1 the final score. Zimbabwe are now second in their group behind Egypt. The group is made up by Angola and Togo. Meanwhile, in Group A in Accra, Ghana were at home to Algeria, who had played so well in the 1982 finals in Spain. And it was Ghana who opened the score after 27 minutes. Prince Opuko Polly getting the goal. He still plays for FC Twente in Holland. 1-0 then for Ghana at half-time. The African commentator also enjoying the game. And just before the end of the match, he would have been happy to see Ghana go further ahead. Ayew Kawami making it 2-0. That the final score. Ghana going well in their World Cup qualifying group. And in Group F, Tunisia played host to Morocco in front of 50,000 spectators in Tunis. This was a tight North African derby, with Tunisia first off the mark a minute before half-time. Ruisi getting the goal. But Morocco were to equalise in the 85th minute. Nejib levelling the scores. 1-1 the final score between Tunisia and Morocco, and things still very tight in Group F. And a roundup of the different scores from the Africa zone of the World Cup qualifying tournament. Congo losing at home to Nigeria. Ethiopia overcoming Benin. Gabon 3-2 winners over Senegal. Tanzania 2-0 winners over Namibia. And Guinea coming over 4-0 against Kenya. Still a long way to go though in the Africa zone of the World Cup qualifying section.
Well, World Cup football going on in South Africa. South Africa almost out of contention after drawing 0-0 here with Nigeria. Before the match, the Nigerian coach, Clemens Vesterhoff, said he expected his team to cruise to victory with between 2 and 6 goals. This one, though, well, everyone thought it was a goal, but it was given as offside. Rashidi Yakemi causing his team to argue with the referee. No red cards, no yellow cards either, and no goals either. South Africa making their first appearance in the qualifying rounds after 16 years in the wilderness. Both teams still to play Congo, but looks like Nigeria going through.
In Johannesburg, South Africa warm up before their African Group D World Cup qualifier against Nigeria. The visitors believe that they've scored when Portuguese-based striker Rashidi Yeneki takes advantage of a bad back pass. Although the law states that you can't be offside from a back pass, the referee disallows the goal. Victory for Nigeria would qualify them for the next round. But South Africa frustrate the Super Eagles to earn a draw, which gives them a slim chance of getting through.
With Zambia winning 3-1 in Tanzania, Madagascar need to defeat Namibia in Windhoek to go top of Africa's Group H. Remy nearly scores for the visitors. In the 17th minute, Madagascar break forward and Remy makes up for his earlier miss. 1-0 down, and yet to win a game in the group, Namibia have a tough task ahead.
Absolutely ridiculous mistake by the Namibian team.
Madagascar take control of the game.
Claude. And danger here, can this be number 2?
Haristra has a goal disallowed for offside, but Namibia's Prime Minister certainly has cause for concern.
See the Prime Minister there, Mr. Hagi Geingob.
Springbok does get on.
In the second half, Namibia finally find a way through, but Springbok can't find the net.
Springbok could possibly have put a lot of power behind that.
Madagascar then have a good chance to score a second, but Remy's effort is a poor one.
Namibia defending desperately.
With time running out, Namibia attack.
And that also somewhat a blow. Chance here.
Qkaseb's header is saved and Madagascar win 1-0. They now lead Group H.
World Sport News comes up in just a moment. But now it's World Football Report, and we start in Johannesburg. South Africa at home to Nigeria in front of a 50,000 crowd. The Nigerians in green, one of the strongest teams in Africa, and their coach expected them to win by 6 clear goals. It looked like the start of the avalanche when Yakini puts the ball into the net for the Nigerians. Amazingly, that disallowed for offside. South Africa had the odd counter-attack themselves, and the final score, disappointing for Nigeria, 0-0. Further north, Swaziland in yellow take on Cameroon, the most famous of African footballing nations. The temperature here, a blistering 40 degrees centigrade, playing not easy, and in a physical match, Swaziland defended strongly, their goalkeeper bravely diving at the feet of the Cameroon forwards. Cameroon just couldn't make their superior skill count. Jean-Claude Pagal goes close here. Swaziland almost snatched a winner in the dying minutes when substitute Tito Mabuza had an arcing header tipped over the bar. It ended 0-0, but Cameroon need only a draw at home to Zaire to qualify for the next phase.
In Group 1 of the World Cup qualifying competition last night, Portugal made the trip to Malta, needing a win to move closer to Switzerland and Italy at the top of the group. Malta is traditionally a place where teams look to improve their goal difference, but the Portuguese struggled to control the game last night, and in the first half it was the Maltese who had the best chances to open the score. The Maltese playing in red. But it was 0-0 at half-time. And in the second half, it was the visitors who were to be first off the mark. The goal coming after 58 minutes from a free kick by Rui Aguas. "1-0 then to Portugal at that point, and despite further chances, that was how the game finished, with Portugal picking up a slender 1-0 victory in Valletta. And that victory takes Portugal above Scotland and into third place, a point behind Italy, but with a game in hand. The leaders in Group 1 are Switzerland, who have 7 points from 4 games. 2 teams will qualify, and those 4 all look to be still in with a chance of making that trip to America next year.
In soccer, Zimbabwe in yellow play Angola in a Group C African World Cup qualifier in Harare. The home team take the lead through Sawu in front of 55,000 supporters.
It's a great goal from Argent Sawu in the first half.
However, the visitors equalised just seconds before half-time with a goal from Neto.
And that is a goal. John Perry.
But Zimbabwe take a vital victory as Peter Ndlovu makes it 2-1. Zimbabwe remain top of Group C and meet Egypt later this month to decide who will move into the second qualifying round.
In Rabat, home team Morocco in green face Benin in qualifying Group F. Chaouch gives Morocco the lead after only 3 minutes. Chaouch scores his second 7 minutes later. And Taha extends his team's lead even further when he chips Benin's hapless goalkeeper Nan. As the Moroccans are awarded a penalty 5 minutes into the second half, Abrami makes it 4. And the rout is completed with a 5th from Meziane. Morocco now lead Group F by a point from Tunisia.
And reigning African champions Ivory Coast become the first team to qualify for the second round after a 1-0 home win over Niger.
Benfica are at the centre.
This comes up in just a moment. Before that, it's World Football Report. And in Santa Barbara, the ever-improving USA side take on Romania in yellow. The USA started brightly, and when the ball comes out to Chris Henderson on the wing, he manages to get height onto the cross to confuse the Romanian defence, and Dominic Kinnear was presented with a simple opportunity to score. The USA won up after only 2 minutes. It's a fine start for the USA, who've been working hard in their preparations to host next year's World Cup. Sometimes, though, their inexperience shows. Tony Meola's goalkeeping replacement, Brian Friedel, plays a poor ball here. It's intercepted by the Romanians, and suddenly they're going for the jugular. The interchange of passes, and Dumitrescu sweeps the ball into the net. The Romanians are level. The USA had this free kick easily smothered in the second half. Then at the other end, Romania went even closer. Dumitrescu runs onto a pass and so nearly gets his and Romania's second. 1-1, the final score.
And welcome back. In Group 3 of the World Cup qualifying competition yesterday, Northern Ireland travelled to Albania looking for a win to improve their position in a group led by Spain. And it started well for the Irish. They took the lead through Jim Maggleton of Oxford United after 14 minutes. And indeed, the Irish made it 2-0 after 38 minutes with this goal by Alan MacDonald of Queen's Park Rangers. A fine start in the first half by Northern Ireland. 2-0 the score at half-time. Albania could have pulled one back in the 77th minute, but Suleiman Demolari's penalty was saved by Tommy Wright of Newcastle United. And although Albania pulled one back through Rakli in the very last minute, the afternoon was to belong to Northern Ireland, taking home 2 very useful points. And that win for Northern Ireland sees them move into 3rd place in the group, level on points with the Republic, who still have a game in hand. Indeed, the Republic of Ireland look to be the best placed team in Group 3 at the moment, just a point behind leaders Spain, but there's still a long way to go. In Group 5 last night, Greece were at home to Luxembourg, the Greeks looking to comfort their position as group leaders. The 40,000 crowd in Athens would no doubt have been hoping for an avalanche of goals, but they were to be disappointed as Greece failed to break open the floodgates. However, they opened the score after 28 minutes after a penalty by Dimitriadis. 1-0 then the score at half-time. And the home side were to go further ahead midway through the second half as Mitropoulos made it 2-0 after 65 minutes. And indeed, that was how it ended, a narrow 2-0 victory for Greece, who would perhaps have expected a better result. So Greece pick up 2 points at home to Luxembourg and now lead Group 5 by 3 points from Russia, who still have 2 games in hand. Luxembourg have yet to score a single goal and they have no points. It should be tight in this group, but Greece may well be on their way to their first ever World Cup finals. In Group 1, Scotland had a well-deserved 3-0 win at home to Malta, 2 goals coming from Ali McCoist and the third from Pat Nevin. The Scots are now 3rd in the group, level on points with Italy, who have a game in hand, and 3 points behind the leaders Switzerland. In Group 2, England finally found their way through a mass San Marino defence last night, scoring 6 without reply, 4 of them coming from captain David Platt and the other 2 from Carlton Palmer and Les Ferdinand. England are now 2nd, 2 points behind Norway with a game in hand. The threat to those 2 is sure to come from Holland and Poland. And finally, in Group 6, the leaders are now France, who had an impressive 4-0 win in Israel and are now one of 3 teams on 6 points, the others being Sweden and Bulgaria. Again, this looks to be a tight group with only anyone from 3, capable of making that trip to America.
Expectation was high, it showed, and at times blurred the vision. But when choosing David Platt as his new captain, Graham Taylor put him right up front and told him to go for goals. So when John Barnes delivered, Platt didn't disappoint. but no one thought he would take it quite so literally, or enjoy it quite so much. He rose to the occasion once, he was to do it again. Just. It was an uphill struggle in the second half, and the captain's hat-trick was proving elusive. But a few minutes more, and Les Ferdinand helped a supercross from Tony Dorigo into the penalty area, and a long-awaited third goal was on the score sheet. Carlton Palmer then flew horizontally to hit the San Marinese for a fourth. Platt then made it 4 of his own, the easiest yet to conclude a memorable night for him. It was all wrapped up by Les Ferdinand 4 minutes from the whistle, a well-deserved debut goal, and San Marino had truly been hit for 6. John Desborough, Sky News.
Objective was to frustrate Scotland, but prolific scorer Ali McCoist had Scotland on the way to victory as early as the 15th minute. Scotland were without a win in Group 1. The arrival of McCoist in the right place to stroke home the second goal of the game after 67 minutes suggested that that run was coming to an end. The long-awaited victory was in the bag when Pat Nevin added the third.
Barnes heads on, man at the far post, and it's there! David Platt. Batty, and outside him is Dixon. And it's Batty again. Little chip across, and Platt jumps again, and the goalkeeper, well, it's been given. It's been given, it was over the line. There's Ferdinand, and there's Platt, and that's number 3. Massimo Bernini really gave that away, the most experienced player, and this is Ferdinand, and Palmer's coming in! 4! And there's Adams in the penalty area for England. Checked out and got the cross in, and it's his Arsenal colleague Dixon Platt. Dixon. Awkward there, and there's the header against the bar, and the groundsman's flag is up, but a goal has been given. Les Ferdinand has got his first goal on his debut. Batty, oh, Dorigo's gone again, and the referee takes a look at that and gives a penalty. Manzaroli came in behind him, and a penalty to England, and the penalty taker nominated before the game was the captain David Platt at the very end of the 90 minutes. Oh, he saved it!
Well, that one would have helped. The 6-0 scoreline was okay. It's going to be very tight indeed for the 2 qualifying places, and Wednesday was the night to really boost the goal average, and in that respect, as you look at that table, Alan, England will certainly regret they didn't achieve more.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed, and frankly, you can see why Norway scored 10 goals against San Marino. You know, England got the first goal early, and you were expecting an avalanche of goals, and what they will be more disappointed about was the final ball into the box.
Knocked forward by Lafela. Now McStay has it, and McCoist, who very quickly spotted that Pat Nevin had space, and Nevin controlled it magnificently. Gets around Vela. It's loose in the penalty area. McCoist has scored! McLeish. McStay just chips it back. Collins goes in. Keeper's right out of his area. The defender jumped into McCoist. It must be a penalty. It is. Well, the process are completely out of order, because there's no doubt the defender jumped into Ali McCoist while the ball was still hanging in the air. McAllister steps up. Hit the bar. Didn't go in. Oh dear, Scotland have wasted a chance. Just over half an hour played. McAllister thumped the woodwork. No goal. Well, the school kids are doing their bit. Well spotted. Here's Jess. He's taken it well. Jess with a chance. It'll be in. McCoist. Corner. Nevin.
Scotland's next match is in Portugal on April the 28th. That's going to be vitally important. That Group 1, Alan, that's going to be very tough to qualify for.
It is, and it was good to see Scotland getting a much-needed victory, but the two games that they've got to get results in are that one, 28th April, Portugal away, and when they go to Italy. I think that if they don't get results there, then they'll be up against it.
First cap on Wednesday for Ian Jess.
Eric Cantona was quick to underline what Manchester United had been missing in their cup defeat last weekend. His handsome volley got the French ball rolling. Defender Laurent Blanc helped it on its way with 2 second-half goals that helped the French back to the head of their qualifying group. There seems to be no hangover from their European Championship failure. Alain Roche cannoned a long-distance fourth beyond the former Rangers keeper Bonnie Ginsberg. Israel still pointless after 4 games. French coach Gerard Houllier says that's their best display yet on the road to America, but only 2 will make it. France's next game is in Austria next month.
Well, welcome to Eurosport News. In Group 1 of the World Cup qualifying competition last night, Portugal were at home to Italy, the two sides 5th and 3rd respectively, in a group which was led by Switzerland with Scotland in 2nd. The Italians had made no secret of the fact that they would be happy to come away from Lisbon with a point, so they must have been pleased with their start. Roberto Baggio of Juventus making it 1-0 after just 2 minutes. And things were to get even better for the Italians. A through ball for Pierluigi Casiraghi, also of Juventus. He makes it 2-0 after 24 minutes, and that indeed the score at half-time. Portugal, though, back in the game after 57 minutes. Pagliuca putting the ball through his own goal, rather, under pressure from the Portuguese players. The referee, though, deciding it counted, and 2-1 the score at that point. But Italy kept coming forward. They weren't content to be leading 2-1. And after 74 minutes, they were to make it 3-1. The ball wide for Dino Baggio of Juventus, making it a good evening for the Turin club. A fine right-footed shot. 3-1 the final score for Italy in Portugal last night. The men in blue certainly happy about that. So a good win for Italy, and they move into 2nd place in Group 1, still a point behind Switzerland, but with their chances of qualifying now greatly improved. Portugal, on the other hand, are now 4th in the group, and they have something of a mountain to climb in Group 1. Group 2 also saw a match last night, with the Netherlands playing host to Turkey in Utrecht, the Dutch needing a win to join England in 2nd place behind Norway. And the home side got off to a fine start. A wide ball on the left after 5 minutes to Wim Jonk of Ajax. He plays it through, and it's Mark Overmars, his teammate, scoring on his international debut. A fine start for the 19-year-old, an excellent start also for Holland. 1-0, 5 minutes gone. But Turkey were playing well in the opening minutes, and they drew level after 35 minutes. De Kock fouling Akam in the penalty area, or so deciding the referee. A penalty then for Turkey, and up steps Fayaz to level the scores after 35 minutes. Well, that pushed the Dutch into something of a reaction. Indeed, it came only 1 minute later. Dennis Bergkamp working well outside the area, playing through to Rob Witschka of Feyenoord, chipping the goalkeeper, and 2-1 the score for Holland at half-time. And the Dutch were to make sure of a rather unconvincing victory. After 53 minutes, the cross from Jan Wouters on the right. Again, Rob Witschka with the header. 3-1, the final score in Utrecht last night for Holland over Turkey in Group 2. And that victory for Holland takes them into 3rd place, level on points with England, who have a better goal difference. But England have only played at home so far in the competition. The group leaders are Norway, but any one of those top 4, including Poland, could make those 2 qualifying places for the United States. Final match played last night was in Group 3, where Spain were at home to Lithuania, Spain leading by a point from the Republic of Ireland before this match. They got off to a fine start after 5 minutes. Cristobal Paralo of Oviedo making it 1-0. And just 8 minutes later, the Spaniards were to go further ahead. Jose Baquero of Barcelona unmarked in the middle of the area. 2-0 for Spain. And indeed, the Spaniards finding things rather easy in the first half. After 18 minutes, Aitor Begiristain of Barcelona was to make it 3-0, and that the score at half-time. Spain having a pleasant evening, it must be said, in Seville last night. Lithuania not enjoying it at this point. And things were to go from bad to worse for Lithuania. 86 minutes had gone when Thomas Christensen of Barcelona made it 4-0 for Spain. And in the very last minute of the match, the Spaniards wrapped up a fine 5-0 win. Adolfo Aldana making his international debut, scoring as he's done for La Coruña so far this season. 5-0, the final score for Spain in Seville last night. So a useful win for Spain, and they now have a 3-point lead over the Republic of Ireland, who, it must be noted, have 2 games in hand. Behind those two come Northern Ireland, level on points with the Republic, 1 point ahead of European champions Denmark. Again, anyone from 4 could qualify. Eric Wynalda, who plays for Saarbrücken in the German Bundesliga, has been voted American Footballer of the Year by sports writers in his country. Wynalda, who is 3rd best scorer in Germany this season, is seen as one of the hopes of American football and is thought of very highly by his national coach, Bora Milutinovic.
As the World Cup qualifying campaign continues, Roberto Baggio gives Italy the lead after just 2 minutes in their European Group 1 match against Portugal in Porto. And they make it 2-0 in the 25th minute when Casiraghi latches onto Albertini's pass. Portugal pull 1 goal back through Couto, despite Italian protests over the challenge on the goalkeeper. But Dino Baggio's superb 30-yard shot makes it 3-1. And Italy are now a point behind group leaders, Switzerland.
In Utrecht, Holland in orange play Turkey in Group 2. The hosts take the lead when Overmars scores just 5 minutes into his international debut. But the unfancied Turks are awarded a penalty in the 37th minute. Feaz scores the equaliser. Just 2 minutes later, Holland regain the lead with a goal from Rob Witzke. And in the second half, Witzke completes the scoring with his 2nd of the game. Holland win 3-1, but are still 3rd in the group behind Norway and England.
In an African Group I qualifier, Kenya in red have to beat Guinea 5-0 in order to reach the qualifying round. Motego scores for the hosts after just 6 minutes. But they're unable to pierce the Guinea defence again until Natchok scores 3 minutes from time. Kenya win 2-0, but it's Guinea who go through to the final qualifying stage.
In Cairo, Zimbabwe in yellow play Egypt in a decisive African Group C qualifier. Sawa stuns the crowd of 120,000 when he gives the visitors the lead after just 5 minutes. Egypt need to beat Zimbabwe in order to reach the 2nd qualifying round. They narrowly avoid a killer blow when Shabir recovers well to save at Peter Ndlovu's feet. Egypt attempt to get back on terms, and Grobbelaar parries Marisor's cross. They're offered a lifeline when Fauzi Gamal is brought down for a penalty. And Akraf Qasim coolly equalises. Spurred on by fervent support, Egypt launch into attack. Hossein Hassan scores the vital goal, which takes them into the next round and the chance of repeating their 1990 qualifying success. In Mar del Plata, Argentina's Cravioto scores an own goal to give Denmark the lead in the Copa Artemio Franchi, played between the champions of South America and Europe. But a beautifully executed move involving Sevilla teammates Maradona and Simeone is rounded off by Caniggia for the equaliser. The match goes to penalties, and Sergio Goycochea, Argentina's hero at Italia 90, saves the fifth penalty from goal-break. Substitute Saldana scores the winning penalty for Argentina, who now extend their unbeaten run to 25 matches.
It's the final and decisive game in this tough World Cup group. Algeria, unbeaten at home in all competitions for 9 years, must win to reach the final qualifying phase. A violent storm on match day brings heavy rain and even sleet, which will seriously affect the pitch. The Stade Birouana holds only 25,000, and with all seats sold, many fans from all over Algeria arrive without tickets. Hundreds find other ways to get inside. A special Algerian atmosphere awaits all. It's clear from the start that Algeria are intent on using strong-arm tactics on Ghana's target men, Abedi Bele and Anthony Yeboah. But it's Algeria's inspirational midfielder, Mefta, who creates the first chance. Yet with just 15 minutes gone, the home crowd are stunned. The stadium is silent as Charles Akonor, who plays in the Bundesliga for Fortuna Köln, draws first blood for Ghana. The wet pitch makes life difficult for both teams. The Algerians adapt better, and Tasfaout twice comes close to gaining an equaliser. Meziane then delivers a superb header. Only for referee Lim Ki-chong to rule another player offside. It's half-time. Ghana still lead and they only need to draw to reach the next qualifying phase.
the young Algerians have different ideas. Substitute Mohamed Brahimi, top scorer in the Algerian league this season, makes the most of an appalling defensive error, and the scores are level. Ghana elect to defend and hang on, and with just 7 minutes to go, are made to pay the penalty. It's Brahimi again. The forward from the local club strikes once more to make it 2-1. Algeria are in dreamland, and Ghana's German coach can't believe it. Victory makes front-page news all over the country as Algeria join Egypt, Guinea, Zambia, Nigeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Morocco and Cameroon in the final stages of qualifying.
12,000 miles away, but the scenes on the terraces have been enough to make the England team feel at home. The decision to bring the very best young players out here is beginning to pay off. Against the United States, England in red improved as the game went on.
Still on that one, what a drive! Some shot from Alan Thompson.
Although there have been some chances coming his way, Tottenham's Nick Barmby has yet to score a goal in the tournament. The United States haven't been the pushovers some suspected, an omen for the Senior World Cup perhaps, but England were always the more skilled.
Well touched by Pollock, and the return from Barmby. Pollock, what a shot and a great save!
The goal eventually came in the second half.
Now the chance to goal! Buck Williams.
The Sheffield Wednesday player's goal was the difference between the two sides, England beating the United States by 1-0. But to be sure of qualifying, England still needed to beat Turkey, one of the most powerful youth teams in the world. They got just the start they wanted, the throw-in again the platform.
Much talk about it, and there's the goal again! England, and have a guess who? Julian Joachim.
The England manager, David Burnside, is confident this team can go on to win the tournament.
He's been in charge of this side for a long time, and he'd be very happy indeed because it was Watson.
But the Turks weren't out of it. As the game went on, they laid siege to the England goal.
In it comes. The little knot on and a shot. It was a good shot on the turn.
And just before the final whistle, they were presented with the perfect opportunity.
Penalty. He's won the penalty. That'll please the Turkish supporters. Can they finish with a bang? They don't! One of the, well, worst penalties you could see in an international.
Not only were Turkey out, England were assured the top place in their group, which means they'll stay here in Melbourne for the quarter-final. There are enough expatriates in the city to ensure that Sunday's match against Mexico will again be like playing at home. FA Cup and League football is shown on the television here at least twice a week. The game's fast catching on with Australian audiences, and this World Championship is adding to the momentum every day.
Well, Australia have beaten Uruguay in the sudden death game there. They qualify for the semi-finals, and interesting that the winners of that Russia-Ghana game will play the winners of England against Mexico, which is tomorrow evening. Now, Alan, a week or two ago here you said...
In normal time, the best of them fell to Mexico, but they failed to take it. Tottenham's Nick Barmby lasted only 40 minutes before limping off, and with Andy Myers of Chelsea soon following, England had used up both of their substitutes. Without them, though, and with the backing of a large English contingent, they still dominated the second half, but couldn't break the deadlock. The match went into sudden death extra time. The first goal would have settled it, and England almost snatched it through Chris Bart-Williams. But it went to penalties, and Mexico missed their first. England kept cool heads with 4 successful kicks, and Bart-Williams gave England a 4-3 lead. It meant Mexico had to score their last, but keeper David Watson pulled off a stunning save. The England fans celebrated a famous win, and they'll fancy their chances now against the Africans of Ghana in the semi-final.
A skillful, inventive football, but England had the better support. And a key role in this game was to be played by the Colombian referee Armando Perez. His view of this tackle by Chelsea's Ian Pearce left England with an early penalty against them, and David Watson, for once, left stranded. Then a quarter of an hour later, England's hopes really hit the rocks when Crewe's Tony Hughes was penalised for handball. The Ghanaians put together a complex build-up to the kick and a goal of great quality. So England needed a lifeline from the second half, and again it would come from the penalty spot. Chris Bart-Williams got himself in a tangle, enough for England to get a break of their own, and Jamie Pollock put the spot kick high and out of reach. England then went for bust at the close, pushed forward and put together their best move. Julian Joachim keeping the defender off his back, but hadn't got the power to outwit the goalkeeper. John Desborough, Sky
2. The hero of the hour was Juan Stefano Muccioli, San Marino's young substitute keeper, who pulled off several fine, occasionally overly spectacular saves. Now that's the situation, Alan, and England are in Turkey at the end of the month.
Yeah, well, after watching that game, you would say that England wouldn't have that much to fear from Turkey, but it doesn't work like that.
With Hearts goalkeeper Nicky Walker and Aberdeen's Stephen Wright playing their first internationals. Germany, in contrast, have a vastly experienced lineup, including such stars as Matthaus, Klinsmann and Riedler. And the commentary comes from Jock Brown.
Klinsmann's head up, there's Bowman. McInally to Robertson. That's a good play by McInally. Robertson has Boyd breaking on the left. He's very quick indeed. The chance is on for Collins. It's a wonderful move from Scotland. Robertson using Bowman. Robertson again. Ferguson makes a run through the middle. Showing that very good touch on his left foot. McInally to Boyd. The cross is aimed for Duncan Ferguson. And a wonderful effort there from Ferguson. Brilliantly saved by Koepka. Well, that would have been one of the goals of any season this. Had it gone in. You see Ferguson there setting himself for the effort. And it's a wonderful save from the goalkeeper. Ferguson's head up. Robertson beaten to the ball by Collar. A miscue there by Levine. The opening goal for Riedler. Well, Levine will have nightmares about this, completely misjudging the flight of the ball. He didn't get a contact there, but Riedler certainly did. That's towards Duncan Ferguson. Well, he didn't catch the header exactly as he wanted, but he gets tremendous height in the leap here. No one else is getting to that ball, and he's played it too firmly downwards. Good running there by McInally. Here's Robertson. Well, perhaps the sweetest strike of the ball in that position in the Scottish side. Forward there by Collins, in goes Irvin. And a wonderful save again from Koepka. Levine to Booth. That's a very good cross. The chance is on there inside the area for Irvin. Couldn't make contact. There goes Bowman. Back out to Tom Boyd, and the volley goes over. It was deflected. It'll be a corner kick to Scotland. Well, they deserve enormous credit for this grandstand finish. Can Scotland snatch a dramatic late equaliser? And it was Scott Booth attacking the ball. Well, the young striker almost making a real name for himself there. He's upset about that. Did so well to reach the ball as it was played across here by Collins. Such a determined challenge.
Komt de Wolf en daar is het. Nog steeds geen 1-0, nu wel. Doelpunt John van den Brom van Vitesse. Wouters. Eigen doelpunt. Ja, eigen doelpunt, een 2-0 voor Nederland.
weer klimt in de Wolf. John de Wolf, jawel. 3-0 voor Nederland. Linker. Daar is John van der Brom. Wordt neergelegd. Penalty. Ja. De Boer. Doelpunt. 4-0. Ronald de Boer. Komen er nu uit op één lijn. Van Vossen vraagt. Dan liep buiten spel. Nu niet meer. Peter van Vossen. Daar is hij. Nummer 5. Jawel. Hij doet het weer. De Zeeuw. Dit is goed. Rob Witsche. Witsche. De Wolf. Ja hoor. Daar is nummer 6 van John de Wolf. 6-0 voor Nederland.
Welcome to Eurosport News. My name is Carlton Kirby. Well, Group 2 last night saw Holland taking on San Marino. The Dutch needed an awful lot of goals in order to make safe their challenge against England in Wembley. They needed to score more than 6, and they set about it early on. Jan van der Brom having 2 goes at the header, finally going in. Well, that was just after 2 minutes. Well, things got a bit slack, especially in the San Marino defence. Claudio Conti heading past his own goalkeeper, but the Dutch just could not pile in any more goals in the first half, and it was 2-0. Everyone beginning to think in Utrecht that disaster might be striking. An awful lot of the Dutch class act not there. Bosman, Jonk, Birdkamp, Gullit, Rijkaard and Van Basten all out. Well, that opened up room for this man, Jan de Wolf, only his second international. First was in 1987, and he made it 3-0 just after the break. Well, tempers were fraying, not least amongst the San Marinos. A red card in the second half reduced their side to 10 and seemed to open up the floodgates for the Dutch. Ronald de Boer, a substitute, making it 4-0. And indeed, it was another substitute, Van Vossen, 5th goal in his 5th international game to put Holland 5-0 up. Well, as we say, the Dutch were hoping for more than 6 goals, but indeed on the night it was to be just 6. I say just 6. The San Marino side, of course, took their first point in internationals against Turkey with a 0-0 draw. So they were always, at least on paper, the possibility that there would be some surprises. The surprise was that only 6 went in against them. Jan de Wolf with his 2nd goal, and that's the way it stayed. Now the Dutch with it all to do against England, April 28th. And this is how Group 2, the World Cup qualifying rounds, are settling down at the moment. Norway on top with 7 points, having played 4, plus 13 goal difference. The Netherlands now over England with 7 points from 5 games. But England only played 3 matches. They've got 5 points, ready to pounce. The Dutch looking a bit wobbly on the way to the States. Well, no such quivers in the path of Italy. It was their 500th international in Palermo. They took on Malta. Dino Baggio, the man from Juventus, opening up from the free kick of Mancini. Baggio scored against Portugal last time. A decent record he's having. Well, a win for the Italians meant they only need to beat Scotland now. Giuseppe Signori, the man from Lazio, normally partners Paul Gascoigne, of course. 2-0. Bierkot with the header, man from Sampdoria, made it 3 after the break, coming off the corner. And Roberto Mancini, the other Sampdorian, was to get the first goal for the national side in 5 years. Mancini's record being a little slow. Often given a hard time by the national side. Plays a lot, doesn't score many for his country. But he was delighted to slot that one in. His first goal in 5 years, as we say. And then a penalty. Pagliuca, the Italian goalkeeper, brought down La Ferla, the Maltese. Got himself a booking in the process. Well, Busuttil stepped up and slotted it away. Pagliuca a little upset. Well, that was 4-1. Wasn't all lost. And Paolo Maldini of AC Milan. Just shows why AC Milan went 58 games unbeaten. Deadly finishing. That was 5-1. And another goal for Roberto Mancini. A great night for him. He's probably still celebrating. Picking off the rebounded header. 6-1 then to the Italians. A great result for them. Bad news for Scotland indeed. Scotland last night were involved in a friendly match with Germany at Ibrox, which they lost 1-0. Let's take a look at Group 1. There, that 6-1 result for the Italians puts them top of the group. 8 points having played 5 games. Switzerland in second place with 7 points from 4. Scotland just 4 points having played 4 matches. Scotland then, next match is in Italy. Surely can't be favourites to take that one. It may be the end for the Scots. We'll just have to wait and see. And while all that was going on, a little earlier in Limassol, 3,000 turned out to see Cyprus take on Czechoslovakia. A few more probably wish they'd gone along after this match. First goal for a still unified Slav team. Lubomir Moravicic. Tough game, great goal. Well, that was after 33 minutes. And everyone expected the floodgates to open for the Cyprus team, as they had it with San Marino. But Cyprus were not overawed. 3,000 Cypriots going completely mad. Andros Soteriou with the equaliser, and that's the way it stayed. In fact, 10 years ago, almost to the day, it was Cyprus that put Czechoslovakia out of the qualification for the World Cup in Spain. Romania went through then, and it looks like Romania are going to go through again after this 1-1 draw. Let's have a look at Group 4. Belgium, 12 points from 6. Belgium's looking certain to they're probably already packing their bags for the States. Romania in second place. The Czech Republic, well, they must have been devastated after that 1-1 draw yesterday. It's not the Czech Republic, it's still Czechoslovakia. Apology for the caption. 4 points, having played 4 games. Wales, Cyprus, Faroe Isles popping them up. And 2 international friendly matches last night, as we said. Scotland going down at home to Germany, the world champions.
So to the World Cup, Italy against Malta. A question of how many goals Italy and the blue would score. A lot was the answer. After 19 minutes, the first came from Dino Baggio. Juventus player opening the scoring. They had to wait, though, until 38 minutes, Italy, before they scored. The second came from Signori, top scorer in Italy with Lazio. And that was 2-0 at half-time. The goal's not flowing in immediately. Perhaps there's a bit of irritation in the crowd. Malta, though, improving themselves, quite adept at keeping out Italy in the first half. 3 minutes so into the second half, they again succumb, though. Signori ready to deliver the ball. And Viachowod making it 3-0. Everyone seemed highly delighted. Coach, as always, keeps his thoughts very close to his chest, but he must have been delighted with Mancini's first goal in 5 years in the national team. Such a good player, and really handed that goal by the goalkeeper. And very much the same thing was happening at the other end of the field. Pagliuca giving away a penalty and a chance for Malta to open their account in this game. And Busatil does so to make the score 4-1. Not quite a romp now, as it appeared to be. Italy, though, swept forward. And just 2 minutes later, Maldini made it 5-1. And into the final minute of the game, and Mancini, who hadn't scored in 5 years in international football, was just about to get on the end of his second. And what a goal it was. Great defending, but a convincing 6-1 victory for Italy. And that's how the table looks. Italy and Switzerland looking pretty good at the moment for their place in the World Cup in America. Scotland have got an awful lot to do, like winning their last remaining matches. And Portugal also look like they're going to be left outside of the World Cup. Scotland with such a proud record of qualifying. Buck your ideas up. So again, Netherlands and against San Marino, this in England's group. And the opening goal, you've got to laugh at this, haven't you? Van der Brom, who we saw earlier playing for his club, opening the scoring in his second international, his first start, in fact, for his country. Played once as a substitute, and that was just after 3 minutes. San Marino, having conceded 6 against England and 10, of course, against Norway on their travels. Not the world's best travellers, and any reports about them going to the red light district, I'm sure that they would defend even if Kanté did score an own goal after 29 minutes. Into the second half, again, the goal's not flowing early on, but San Marino getting tired as the game went on. De Wolf, Halford in the air, making it 3-0, 53 minutes gone. Victory in this game, of course, would take the Netherlands above England in the group. And Van der Brom brought down, and giving on his debut, Ronald de Boer the chance to score his first goal for his country, and that made it 4-0. Last 12 minutes of the game, and still Netherlands looking for important World Cup goals. Van Vossen making it 5-0. And with 7 minutes remaining, the scoring was completed with De Wolf scoring his second of the game. 6-0 the final score. In the context of the group, important goals they were for the Netherlands, who played more games than England, who of course played Turkey this week. Norway now find their lead has evaporated, even if they have played fewer games than the Netherlands. And of course there's still Poland to come into the equation, having played only 2 games. Despite all the goals going in the games featuring San Marino and Malta. Cyprus showing that really there are no easy sides if they do want to put up a determined performance. Czechoslovakia found that despite a stunning opening goal. Moravcik making it 1-0 after 33 minutes. Czechoslovakia, of course, got a proud tradition in European football, not having it quite so easy these days. And certainly just into the second half, Sotorio levelled the scores, and a well-earned point it was for Cyprus. And Belgium can qualify in their next game. And I won't mention who it's against. Romania in second place, and then Czechoslovakia and Wales well down, and they've got a lot to do to qualify. Important game, Austria against France, who are looking for their fourth successive victory in the World Cup campaign. Austria, though, nearly opening the scoring, just the thickness of the post depriving them. And in the end, they got caught out by some quick thinking work. Gravelin on the ball, the run by Jean-Pierre Papin, timed to perfection, and he does everything right. That turned out to be the only goal of the game after 58 minutes. And France now looking pretty good for a place in the World Cup finals in America. Papin so good in that sort of situation, 1-on-1 on the keeper. And another vital victory for the French side, missing Eric Cantona because of suspension. So there you go, France won their last 4 games and contesting place with Bulgaria and Sweden. Really looks like it's going to be between those 3 teams. Well, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Euro Goals. I look forward to your company at the same time next week on Eurosport. For myself, David Smith, I wish you goodbye.
Well, welcome to Eurosport News. It was a big night of World Cup football tonight, and we start in qualifying Group 1, where Switzerland were at home to Portugal. The Swiss hoping to win to keep up the pressure on group leaders Italy, and of course to move further away from third place Scotland. Well, they'll have been happy with the start they got in the first half. 39 minutes of the match had gone when Stefan Chapuisat, who plays for Borussia Dortmund in Germany, poked in that little header to make it 1-0 with 6 minutes to go in the first half. So the stadium in Bern happy, but Portugal were to get level before half-time. Again, the goal came from a header. It was from the Porto player Semedo with just 1 minute left in the first half. And indeed, that was the final score in Bern this evening, 1-1 between Switzerland and Portugal. All of which means that Switzerland now take the lead of World Cup qualifying Group 1. They are level on points with Italy, both teams having played 5 matches, but Switzerland have a greater goal difference. They have scored 3 goals more than Italy. Scotland are on 4 points in third place. In Group 2 this afternoon, England travelled to Turkey looking for a good win to send them to the top of the group ahead of Norway and the Netherlands. Well, England also got a great start. That foul on Ian Wright after 6 minutes led to a free kick, and it was John Barnes of Liverpool who stepped up to take it. Barnes standing in for the injured Les Ferdinand, and with the header it was David Platt of Juventus scoring his 17th goal for England. Platt, if you remember, scored 4 against San Marino earlier this month. That was a great start for England, 1-0 up after just 6 minutes. Well, Platt was very active in the first half. He may have got another towards the end of the half, but just coming into contact with goalkeeper Engin. Indeed, Engin picking up a nasty injury to his left arm in that clash with David Platt. The ball going out for a corner, but the Turkish goalkeeper injured, and indeed he picked up a further injury to that left arm, indeed aggravated the original injury in that little clash with Tony Adams from the corner. Engin eventually going off and being replaced by Hayretin. So at this point, just 2 minutes left in the first half, and it looked as if it was going to be 1-0 to England at half-time. That was counting without Paul Gascoigne of Lazio running on well to that long ball forward from Ian Wright. Gascoigne particularly happy with his goal, and when he might be, that meant that England went in 2-0 at half-time. Well, Gascoigne in action also in the second half. Not quite getting on the score sheet at that time. And indeed, the final score between England and Turkey in Izmir this afternoon, 2-0. And that's what that result does to the Group 2 standings. England still in second place, but they're now level on points with Norway, both teams having played 4 games. The Norwegians having scored 1 more goal, their goal difference is better. The Netherlands are in third place. It now looks as if the 2 qualifying places will be decided between those 3 teams. In Group 3 earlier this evening, European champions Denmark played host to Spain, the group leaders. Denmark were lying 4th before this match, and they would have been looking for a win, but it was Spain who had the early chances. Schmeichel there keeping out Julio Salinas after 10 minutes. But Denmark got the much-wanted goal. It came after 19 minutes. Flemming Poulsen, the man running through the Spanish defence to put the ball away. 1-0 the score to Denmark at that point, and indeed that was to be the final score. The Danes picking up a useful home win against the group leaders Spain in Copenhagen this evening. And that result moves Denmark up to third place. They jump above Northern Ireland, who lost to the Republic this afternoon. The Republic winning 3-0 with goals from Townsend, Quinn and Staunton. Spain still lead the group. It looks like it'll be a battle now between those top 3 for the 2 qualifying places. They were also playing in Group 4 this evening, where Belgium lost their 100% record in Cardiff. Wales winning 2-0 through first half goals from Ryan Giggs and Ian Rush. Belgium now leading the group. They still look to be well on their way to qualification. The second place will be a battle between Romania and Wales. And they're also playing in Group 5 this evening, where Greece beat Hungary after a goal from Apostoliakis. Greece also now look well on their way to qualifying. That would be for the first time in their history. Russia are favourites to take the other qualifying place. So on with the news, and it was a big night of World Cup football last night, and we start in qualifying Group 1, where Switzerland were at home to Portugal. The Swiss hoping to win to keep up the pressure on group leaders Italy and move further away from third place Scotland. So the Swiss would have been very happy with the way things went after 39 minutes. Stefan Chapuisat, who plays in Germany for Borussia Dortmund, sneaking in with a lovely low header, making it 1-0 for the home side. A fine opening goal from Chapuisat, but the Portuguese weren't out of the match. They played well in the first half, and they were to draw level with just 1 minute left to go in the opening half. It was Semedo also scoring with a header, the FC Porto player making it 1-1 at half-time, and indeed 1-1 the final score. A disappointing result for Switzerland. Portugal may be happy to take a point home. And that's how things look in Group 1 now after that 1-0 draw. Switzerland now leading on goal difference from Italy. Scotland are 4 points back in third place. Scotland travel to Portugal on the 28th of April. Switzerland will be at home to Italy on the 1st of May. It looks like the big game will be between Scotland and Switzerland in Scotland on the 8th of September. In Group 2, England travelled to Izmir to take on Turkey. Graham Taylor's men knowing that a win by 4 goals would take them into the lead of the group above Norway and the Netherlands. So England would have been very happy with their start. A foul on Ian Wright after 5 minutes down the right side wing. It was John Barnes of Liverpool taking the free kick, and David Platt of Juventus sneaking in with a header. An excellent start for England, 1-0 up after just 6 minutes. It was a nice curling free kick from Barnes, who had come in for the injured Les Ferdinand of Queen's Park Rangers. And England had chances to go further ahead, but the main incident in the first half after that goal was the injury to Engin, the Turkish goalkeeper. He injured his left arm. He went off and he was replaced by Hayrettin. And then on 45 minutes, England were to go further ahead. A long ball forward by Paul Ince of Manchester United. Paul Gascoigne running in well between 2 defenders. A fine header by Gascoigne. 2-0 the score at that point. England took a 2-0 lead into the half-time break. And indeed, there was to be no further score in the second half, so 2-0 the final score. England taking home the points from Turkey. And that's how they stand in Group 2. England winning 2-0 in Turkey. They join Norway on 7 points, but the Norwegians leading on goal difference from both England and the Netherlands. The next 2 games for England will be essential. They play at home to Holland on the 28th of April. England surely need to win that one. And then they travel to Poland on the 29th of May, while Norway will travel to Holland on the 9th of June. In Group 3, European champions Denmark played host to Spain, who were the group leaders. Denmark were lying 4th before this match, and they would have been looking for a win, but it was Spain who had the early chances. Schmeichel there keeping out Julio Salinas after 10 minutes. But 19 minutes had gone when Denmark got onto the score sheet. The Spaniards failing to clear, and Flemming Poulsen sneaking through 2 defenders and beating Zubizarreta to make it 1-0. Well, the Danes would maybe have hoped for further goals, but that was the way things ended. So 1-0 the score for Denmark over Spain in Copenhagen last night. In the same group, the Republic of Ireland in second place took on their neighbours from the north, who were level with them on 6 points, having played 1 more game. Well, the score the last time these 2 teams met in the World Cup in Dublin was 3-0 for the Republic, and they got off to a nice start after 18 minutes. Andy Townsend of Chelsea opening with a rare right-footed shot. And just 2 minutes later, the Irish were further ahead. Paul McGrath starting off a fine 6-man move that also included Ray Houghton, and it was Niall Quinn of Manchester City with a nicely taken right foot shot, making it 2-0. Just 20 minutes of the match gone, and the Irish off to a flying start. Quinn beautifully in front of his man, and things were to get better. This corner from Steve Staunton after 29 minutes. Beating all the Northern Irish defence. In it went, 3-0 the score for the Republic. They would also probably have hoped for more goals in the second half, but it wasn't to be. And 3-0 the final score in Dublin yesterday. The Republic of Ireland taking the points over their neighbours from the north. All of which means that Spain, despite their defeat in Denmark, remain the group leaders. They have played 2 games more than the Republic, though. The Republic 1 point behind, and Spain have a greater goal difference for the moment. Denmark in 3rd place. The big matches to come on the 28th of April. The Republic will be at home to Denmark, while Spain will play host to Northern Ireland. In Group 4 in Cardiff last night, Wales brought an end to Belgium's fine 100% record. Wales winning 2-0 with first-half goals through Ryan Giggs and Ian Rush. Rush is 24th, and that a Welsh record. So Belgium still lead the group. Romania is 2nd and Wales 3rd. It looks like it'll be a battle between Romania and Wales for that extra qualifying place. Wales travel to Czechoslovakia on the 28th of April. Join us after this short break. And welcome back. In World Cup qualifying Group 5 last night, the leaders Greece made what looked to be a dangerous trip to Budapest to take on 3rd-placed Hungary. Well, the Greeks playing in blue have certainly surprised a lot of people in this group, and they would maybe have been happy to take home the point in just a draw from Budapest last night, but they had a lucky break after 70 minutes, no score through the first half. The referee deciding that was handball, and up stepped Apostolakis to put in the penalty. 1-0 the score for Greece, and that indeed is the way things ended. An excellent result for the Greeks in Budapest last night, still well on the road to qualifying for their first ever World Cup finals. Indeed, Greece now well out in front in the group. They've played 5 matches and have 9 points. Russia, though, are still favourites to win the group. However, 2 still go through from it. It's been reduced to 5 teams after the exclusion of Yugoslavia. On the 28th of April, Russia will be at home to Hungary. And on the 20th of May, Russia will be at home to Greece. That looks to be a very interesting match. And welcome back. The CONCACAF World Cup qualifying section has moved into its final group phase, and yesterday Honduras played host to Canada, both nations playing their first match in this new phase. But it was the Canadians who were to be first on the score sheet. 34 minutes of the match had gone when goalkeeper Rivera pulled down Pesci Solido, and it was Dale Mitchell who stepped up to take the penalty. 1-0 for the visitors. But Honduras themselves were to be awarded a penalty after 41 minutes. The foul by Watson on Flores. Again, a penalty was awarded, and it was Rodolfo Smith who stepped up to make the scores 1-1 at half-time and send the local crowd into raptures. Well, the local commentator also rather happy with the way things were going, but he would have been quietened down slightly after 68 minutes as Alex Bunbury scored for Canada. That made it 2-1, and indeed it looked as though Canada were to take the points. But a foul on Calix by Watson after 89 minutes led to yet another penalty, and Cesar Obando made it 2-2 in the dying seconds, and that indeed the final score. And that's how the group looks now. El Salvador leading the group. They beat Mexico 2-1. Canada second, Honduras third, and Mexico fourth. The top team will eventually be qualified, and the second will be involved in a playoff.
Welcome to Eurosport News. My name's Carlton Kirby. New stadium in Trieste, the venue for Italy in their Group 1 World Cup qualifier with Estonia. Well, after 22 minutes, Roberto Baggio of Juventus opened up with his 17th international goal, back pass from Signori. And everyone, including a happy crowd of 35,000 in the new stadium, were hoping for a deluge of goals. It didn't come. In fact, they had to wait until 3 minutes from the end Signori, the man from Lazio, always seems to score when Gazza's not in the side. Top scorer in Italy, slotted it away, but 2-0 the score. The Italian press not very happy at all. They said that after Baggio's goal, they'd sat on their laurels. Well, you can't argue with the points. 10 having played 6. They top Group 1 at the moment. Although Switzerland could overtake them on a better goal difference. They play Malta at the weekend, so it could be the Swiss back on top. Scotland currently in 3rd. Denmark here in the red. Also expected to have an easy time of things, this time against Latvia playing in the white. Denmark, of course, European champions, but it was 0-0 at half-time. A great surprise to many. Kim Vilfort opening up after 68 minutes in the Edouardparken Stadium in Copenhagen. The goals, although a long time coming. Substitute Mark Strudel produced a beauty. Been on the pitch just 6 minutes. 2-0 the final score. Denmark currently topping Group 3 ahead of Spain. Meanwhile, the battle of the minnows, if you like. Lithuania playing in green against Albania in Vilnius. Baltus Nikas after 20 minutes for Lithuania. Albania, one of the better of the smaller nations in Europe at one time, certainly showing none of the qualities of old that they'd been remembered for. Sukristovas, a man who plays in Tel Aviv, slotting one in just inside the right-hand post. 5 minutes after the first. 2-0 then, going into the break. After the turnaround, Baranuskas made it 3-0. Before then, though, Dimar sent off for that foul. Blatant, to say the least. And here comes Baranuskas' goal. Lithuania, of course, without Friedrichs, who plays for Austria Vienna. Apparently, Lithuania refused to pay the insurance money on this game, so Austria Vienna refused to let their man go. 3-0 at this stage, then. Albania pushing hard, to try and get something out of the match. In 4 minutes from time, they did indeed pull one back. Demolari, who plays for Dynamo Bucharest, making the score Lithuania 3, Albania 1. And Group 3, there it is. Spain on top with 9 points from 7 games. Denmark behind them with 9 from 6. Ireland, well, the big game coming up in just 2 weeks' time. Denmark and Ireland could be the decider of this group, Group 3. Lithuania in 4, and they're the rest of them. Meanwhile, in Group 4, Bucharest, the venue. 30,000 turned up to this one. Romania taking on Cyprus. And it was the Cypriots who stole the show early on. 23 minutes, Sotiriou, the man who scored against Czechoslovakia, popped one home here. Just before the break, Dumitrescu, a player from Steaua Bucharest, 3rd in the table there. Slotted it in just inside the right-hand post. 1-1 into half-time. 11 players in this Romania squad playing here in the yellow. Playing for foreign clubs, but welcomed warmly by the 30,000 crowd. Dumitrescu once again. The pass from Hagi. 2-1, the final score. Cyprus's luck just not holding, unlike that match with Czechoslovakia, which they drew surprisingly 1-1 in Cyprus. These, how they stand in Group 4. Belgium on top ahead of Romania. Belgium looking absolutely unbeatable. 12 points having played 7. Romania in 2nd place. Wales, well, still got a hope. Pretty slim one. 6 points from 5. Welcome back. The packed night of World Cup action continued in Luxembourg. Just 3,000 in the National Stadium. Saw Luxembourg take on Russia here in white. Well, Russia obviously didn't need the crowd. 4-0 it ended. Sergei Kiriakov with the first goal after 11 minutes. Luxembourg did well to keep it at just 1-0 until the break. After which, disastrous error early on gave Kiriakov another off the pass of Yuran. Well, they couldn't believe it. Seemed to be a miss hit, but they all counts. Shalimov, the man from Inter Milan. Kornaev, the provider, slotting him through nicely. And with finishing like that, it was going to be a bad night for the Luxembourg fans. Russia, along with Sweden, the only team not to have dropped a point in the European rounds of the World Cup qualifiers, and they were certainly not looking as though they were going to do anything so silly on this night. Kulkov with the last. Rain and wind dampening the spirits of the lowly crowd, but certainly not the Russians. Luxembourg 0, Russia 4. There, the Group 5 standings. Greece on top, surprise leaders, 9 points having played 5. Russia in second place, so 6 points from 3. This, of course, the group that should have had Yugoslavia within it, which would have made things a little more difficult for the likes of Greece. But that's the way it is. In Vienna, a few more people turned up to this one. Austria versus Bulgaria. Austria had a disastrous run of form of late. Their best period in the late 70s, early 80s, long forgotten, but a glimpse of what might be in the future on display in this Group 6 match against Bulgaria. Austria in white opening up after 11 minutes. Pfeffenberger, a man from Austria Salzburg, the league leaders in Austria, 1-0. Well, it was 2 into the break. Dietmar Kuber with the second. Watch this. Well, nobody knew if it took a deflection. Looked clean to me. The goalkeeper couldn't hold it. Indeed, that was one of the goals of the evening. Bouncing unkindly just in front of the Bulgarian goalkeeper. After the turnaround, Ivanov pulling one back for Bulgaria, who are the red-hot favourites in this match. Stoichkov, the man who plays for Barcelona, with a disastrous evening of football for him. Well, when Bulgaria pull one back, our commentary team and many of the crowd, as you can hear, whistling their heads off, really thought Bulgaria were going to get right back into this match. This was on 54 minutes. But it wasn't to be. Tony Polster with this inspired goal, going through everyone, dodging the tackle, slotting it home to perfection. A better goal even than Kubar's. Fabulous. Just take a look at this again. Weaving his way beautifully. In comes the tackle. Misses it with one foot, slots it away with the other. Lovely stuff. So let's take a look at Group 6. France on top with 8 points, having played 5. Sweden in second place with 6 from 3. Bulgaria with 6 from 5. And, well, Austria's hopes of qualifying still extremely thin indeed. Only a mathematical possibility, but some heart gained from that 3-1 win over Bulgaria. Other World Cup news, the Africa Zone Group A. This replayed game because of fighting when Egypt beat Zimbabwe 2-1. The replay ended 0-0. Bruce Grobbelaar for Zimbabwe was apparently absolutely outstanding. Egypt paying the price for that crowd trouble. They are out. Zimbabwe go through to Group C in the second round. Their first game will be against Cameroon.